Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Borough of Englewood Cliffs Mayor and Council regular meeting. Call the meeting to order at 8:35 p.m. For safety reasons, we cannot have people standing in the doorway. You'll have to find a seat. There's some seats up here. There's 3 over there. By order of the fire department, and we have the president of the fire department sitting here, so we have to comply.
We'll get more chairs out of it, Mayor.
All right. Please rise for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, have a roll call, please.
Mayor Kranjak,
Here.
Councilperson Zaversa,
Here.
E. Park,
Here.
O.
Here.
McMorro,
Here.
M. Park,
Here.
Wu,
Here.
Borough Attorney,
Present.
Superintendent of DPW,
Here.
and Municipal Clerk. We're all present, Mayor.
Thank you. Could you please also read the Open Public Meetings Act statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting was given to the press and posted as required. Date and time of this meeting was legally given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act. This notice is on file with the municipal clerk and posted on the bulletin board. Minutes of this meeting will be made available to the public upon the completion of typing and proofreading by the municipal clerk.
Thank you. At the 6:30 caucus meeting, most of you were not here, but we had a special session with students from our upper school, observing what we refer to as the Englewood Cliffs Student Government Project, Mayor and Council for the day. We had Honorary Mayor Brandon Lee, Honorary Councilman Skay Mehta, Honorary Councilman Jackson Jaffrey, Honorary Councilman Lance Bay. So we turned the meeting over to them for about half an hour. They did a very nice job. I wish more people saw them in action. And we did give them a homework assignment at the end, which was to come back to us by April 30th with a list of 5 things to make Englewood Cliffs the best town in New Jersey. So I appreciate the assistance given to me by Lizette Duffy in organizing that, and the teachers and administrators at the Northcliffe School.
You're welcome. Mayor, we discussed in caucus changing 2 resolutions. May I read them out loud, the 2 changes?
Yes, please.
Okay, and that is Resolution 1866 for dollar amounts that are being changed. The $15,000 is being changed to $8,500 for past work, and the $5,000 will be not to exceed for future work. So we're just changing the $15,000 to $8,500. And Resolution 71, it's stated in item number 5 that the mayor, the borough administrator, Catherine Steinell, will sign paperwork. We're removing the borough administrator's name, Catherine Steinell, and just leaving it as borough administrator. That's it, Mayor.
Thank you. I'm going to make a second request to the gentleman standing in the doorway. I need you to sit down and get out of the doorway, sir. Thank you.
Point of order, Mayor. I just need to make an addition, add a resolution. I just need to add a resolution. I'm going to be making a motion to request that the borough clerk immediately go out to advertise for the position of borough administrator. And with the assistance of, I think we had an ad previously, but she needs assistance in modifying that in any way to work with the borough attorney to get that done.
So I'll add it and read it aloud later.
Thank you very much. And also, I don't think we have to do this before public portion, but I'll do it now. Anyway, I'm making a motion to add Councilman Park to the Personnel Committee, with your permission.
I can do that.
You can do it now if you want.
Okay.
Anybody seconding
Make a
that?
motion to do that?
You can vote. Is that your appointment, Mayor? Just-
It's my recommendation. Yes, it's fine.
Do I have to vote?
Well, look, I don't want to force someone to be on, listen, I don't want to force someone to be on a committee, but I thought that would be something that you would want to do.
Yeah, she's good with that.
You all right with it?
You just appointed Mark Park, Councilman Park.
Huh?
I heard
Joan-
Councilman
No,
Park.
you.
Councilwoman Park.
Okay.
So,
Okay,
to,
that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, we did it last year.
to clarify, we always had 3 individuals
It's
as
fine. We're good.
personnel committee.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, it's okay,
Okay.
sorry if I wasn't clear.
All right, so,
Do a quick vote.
who made, you made the motion and who seconded it?
I did. That,
Do we have to
Mayor,
vote?
that's why I
Borough
asked, not to
attorney?
be a jerk, but because do we have to vote if it's your appointment? It's just your
We
appointment.
voted that we
It-
were.
It's with consent of the
Okay,
council.
Okay, just want to clarify, thank you.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
We're voting now?
Yes,
E.
and
Park, yeah.
Okay.
O.
Yes, yes, I'm just. Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to the committee. Let's approve minutes from caucus and regular meeting of February 14th, 2018, also known as our Valentine's evening meeting. Have a motion to approve those minutes, please.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the report of our labor attorney, Mark Ruderman. It's a personnel matter involving Chief Michael Chaffee.
Mayor, I'm going to accuse.
Okay.
The microphone. Take it.
Yes, would you set from the dais and,
That was a better one.
just for the council's edification, this matter is confidential that Mr. Rudderman is going to speak about, so we are not going to entertain too many questions. I'm sure Mr. Rudderman will tell you if he can't answer questions. And the reason it is being done currently at open public session is because Chief Chiaffi received a rights notice and requested that it be held in open. My understanding is it's just a report. No.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
The Bergen County Prosecutor's Office conducted an investigation concerning a particular complaint, of which I'm not going to go into any detail for the same reasons that the borough attorney specified. I spoke on the phone today with the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office about this investigation, and the assistant prosecutor who I spoke to, who's also an AG, reiterated the importance, in particular from the Attorney General guidelines, about the confidentiality of this report and everything contained in it. When this report was filed, it was sent to the borough on February 20th, and it was sent to me as the labor attorney on February 23rd to review the prosecutor's report and make a specific recommendation to the mayor and council. I have done so. I've reviewed the records. I've listened to the computer disc tapes and everything pertaining to the investigation, and it is my recommendation, after having thoroughly reviewed the documentation, that the mayor and council, as the appropriate authority, do not proceed with any further action with respect to the matter that was investigated by the prosecutor's office.
Is that the end of your report?
I like to be succinct.
There is no need for a vote.
There is not, unless the council wants to proceed with charges. And it's not my recommendation that they do so.
Okay.
Everybody good?
I have a question, though. Because obviously this is the first I'm hearing about it.
Can you turn your mic on?
Sorry. When was the complaint made, or when did the investigation occur?
The investigation occurred over a several-month period in the prosecutor's office during the fall of 2017.
Thank you. Can you give me a date as to when the actual complaint was brought?
I honestly don't know when the date was. I know the day that they met with people and took reports and took statements from them. It's my understanding that the report was filed somewhere around the middle of September 2017.
Okay, no questions.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, the report and all of its contents will remain confidential.
Yes.
If you have the originals of the discs, they should be returned in confidence to the Borough Clerk's office. If you want to do that now, or however you want to do it.
I have anticipated that, and this is the original report which was received, and I'm handing it to the set. It contains the original discs as well as the investigation report and the letter that came from the prosecutor's office to the
Thank you.
municipality.
And 3 discs, correct?
I believe there should be 3 discs.
So then, Madam Clerk, I would ask that you seal that and place that in a locked cabinet under your control.
Yes, actually, there's 4 discs.
Okay.
Mark? 4 discs.
Yes, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Letterman.
Yeah, I have another question, but thank you for your recommendation, however, we're voting on something, we're not voting
No,
on
we're not,
something.
we're not voting.
Okay, but aren't we as council entitled to see what's in that envelope?
No, it's an internal affairs investigation.
It is an investigation. As the appropriate authority, if you wish to review the document in confidence,
Yes.
you can go to the borough clerk and request to look at the information. The way it's being handled in this way is to ensure confidentiality, because if any of this appears in any one of the various sorts of social media that we're all familiar with, or any other source, litigation will ensue, even potential criminal charges, and I want to avoid any impropriety at all. Most of you I've never met before. I'm very much of a straight shooter, and I give my recommendations based upon my 39 years of prosecuting cases like this, and that's what my recommendation was.
So I can go to the borough clerk and
Excuse me.
take a look.
Yes.
Excuse me, before you opine that, the borough may have a difference of opinion. It
Okay.
is a confidential personnel record, and it is a confidential investigation record, subject to the guidelines of the Attorney General. So, Ms. Park, Councilwoman Park, if you do want to review that, please consult with the Borough Clerk, who will consult with me, and I will specifically look at the Attorney General guidelines to determine if your review is allowable.
We're the council people that, this
I-
is ridiculous. I think,
You're out of order.
I fully understand, but there are only 4 circumstances under which this type of investigation can be reviewed under the Attorney General
you
guidelines.
say this kind of investigation,
Yes.
so you're aware of the investigation. You're aware of it. You know what's happening, I don't know what's happening.
No, I'm sorry.
Inside voice.
It is a confidential investigation as well as confidential personnel records. I'm not going to make a decision that you can or cannot review that right here and now, because I do not have the Attorney General guidelines in front of me. With all due respect to
Which
Mr.
I do.
Rudderman,
I have them in front of me.
Very good.
Page 42
Page
of the Attorney
42.
General guidelines, there are 4 exceptions to release of this information. If administrative charges have been brought against an officer and a hearing will be held, a copy of all discoverable materials shall be provided to the officer and the hearing officer before the hearing. Since I've recommended we don't, that's not covered. If the subject officer, agency, or governing jurisdiction has been named as a defendant in a lawsuit arising out of the specific incident covered by the internal investigation, a copy of the internal investigation reports may be released to the attorney representing the subject officer, agency, or jurisdiction.
Doesn't apply.
There is no litigation. Upon request or direction of the county prosecutor or the attorney general. I spoke with the Attorney General, he wants it, the prosecutor's office and the Attorney General, they said no, and the 4th exception is upon a court order. So none of the 4 exceptions apply, which is why I am insisting upon confidentiality.
and you're deferring to my decision at this moment in
That's
time.
correct.
Certainly, if a court order is returned, ordering the review by any individual council member, but with all due respect, since I have been borough attorney, we have not shared IA or personnel records to the council members as a whole. and the borough administrator has generally been handling personnel records that are confidential.
I have a question too.
Yes,
I don't know if it's something that you could answer, but how did this internal investigation end up at the county? Is it something that the person, the petitioner, or the complainant in this case, brought it up to the county, or how did it end up there?
it's because the investigation involved a particular individual that it goes to the county prosecutor. It cannot be done internally.
Cannot be done locally. It must go to the prosecutor's office.
There was no discretion. It wasn't like somebody just ran to the prosecutor's office for the hell of it. They had to go to the prosecutor's office to do this type of investigation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Can I turn it to my cousin?
It's on.
Okay, go ahead.
You didn't hear me?
No.
One more.
Okay, we had correspondence from the Bergen County Utilities Authority.
Hold on. Ms. McMorro, Councilwoman McMorro.
They come back and... All right, let's continue. Can I have a motion to open to the public? Oh, hold on a second. What's that?
I just want to know, for the record, did anybody else have any conflicts with this matter? Besides myself? Mr. Turner?
I'm not aware of any other
Oh,
conflicts.
on the council, nobody else have any conflicts?
I'm not aware of any
Okay.
other conflicts.
How can we know we don't know what's in the thing?
I don't know, I'm just asking the question. Does anybody think they have any other conflicts? That's all.
Microphone.
If everybody thinks no, then
Okay, let's have a motion to open to the
No,
public.
correspondence?
We did correspondence.
Oh, we did?
The Bergen County Utilities Authority was the only piece of correspondence on the
Approved.
agenda. And I need a motion to open to the public. All in favor?
Aye.
And so any member of the public is free to come up to the microphone after I recognize you by raising your hand. State your name and address, please. And anybody wishing to speak? Yes. I'm sorry, can you just clear the doorway, please?
I have a question for the borough, Lynn Liascos, 10 East Street.
I'm sorry, what's your last name, miss?
Liascos. I
Okay.
have a question for the borough attorney. You said that the council as a whole did not get information about whatever litigation things are going on.
No one on the council.
No
got-
one, you meant to say no one,
Yes.
not as a whole. I'm
No
saying that not
individual-
one person got anything.
Correct.
Okay, that's all I want to know.
You're referring to the matter we just decided.
Correct.
I mean, didn't decide because we had no vote. No one received it except the borough administrator and the borough labor attorney.
And how secure is where Lizette's going to have to put this so that it's not in any way putting the borough in a position to be litigated against if whatever's in there?
I understand, my understanding, and I certainly trust the borough clerk, is that she has control of locked cabinetry in locked rooms, and I am sure she will be sure and ensure that this will remain secure.
How many keys are available for the door and
We
the
don't
lock?
discuss, we
The
don't
lockbox, whatever it is.
we don't discuss building security in
I
public.
get that.
Okay, Open Public Meetings Act allows us to discuss such items in closed. We're not going to discuss that in public.
My concern is, sometimes, like the keys to the safe down in Parkland, there were 2 keys, they didn't know there were 2 keys, and the kid got out and killed people, That just concerns me that there's more than 1 key.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks.
There are seats up here if you wish to sit down. I just can't have you stand in the doorway. If there's a seat there, there's another there. Thanks. Yes.
That was Meyer, what else it called? What else it called? What is this?
Thank you, Mark.
Hello? Can you hear me now? No?
Mark, take,
Another one.
no.
I don't see a plug.
No, it's wireless.
It's wireless.
Mark,
Speak louder, is that better? Okay? Okay,
We're switching
I have
out.
a few budget questions based on the agenda. Is this better?
yes.
Okay. The resolution 1863, the appointment of a property maintenance inspector, is this in our, I'm going to say, our current budget, which wouldn't be 2018, but 2017?
No, it will be in the new budget.
Will be in the new budget, thank you.
Can I just add to that, though? Last year, we had one person that was wearing many hats. This year, we have a few different people, so I can't, if you're asking, are we increasing the budget? I don't think it would be fair for us to actually state that. I haven't looked at it. But just so you know, there was one guy who got different hats and different stipends or payments.
So you're saying that part of that is being removed? and being replaced
No.
with it? I mean, I think it's hard to discuss the 2017 budget other than whether that position is there or not, because I just received the numbers, so I'll know a little bit better at the next meeting.
Yeah,
What
I
my
just
questions
wanted
are
to,
regarding what happened.
yeah, and when, you'll see in the budget what we're going to do this year. But in the budget last year, it's one.
Well, are there going to be public meetings regarding the 2018 budget where we'll be able to participate?
There will be.
There will be?
There will be.
Okay.
Okay. Resolution 1866, this is not a budget question, this is more of a question. I thought this litigation was settled, and I'm not understanding why we're continuing to set aside funds.
It's not settled,
It's not settled,
and
okay.
it's continuing.
Okay. Moving on to resolution 1861, general capital being spent of 5.7 million and change. Is that just normal procedure? And is it coming out of the capital fund? So I'm kind of confused as to what that's for.
We'll get back to you on that.
What was the 1861 payment of claims?
Payment of claims,
Uh-huh.
yes, out of the general capital fund, 5.7 million.
Ms. Steinel could not be here this evening, so I will find out.
Okay. Resolution 18.62, I noticed that there's a decrease in the cost that was originally approved by the mayor and council. I'm happy to see that, but I'm just wondering what was deleted from the scope of work to cause a $19,000 reduction in cost.
Mr. Evans, do you know the answer to that question?
I'm sorry.
In 1862, we had allocated money for paving contractors, for, it appears to be
Change order.
field, tennis courts, and basketball. And we have now a change order number 5,
Final.
which is final. We had 2 before, which increased the contract price. And now this particular change order decreases it by $91,000. Was their scope of work deleted from the contract? What are we not getting in that the contract now is reduced by $91,000?
I have to consult the engineer, but I believe this question is regarding contract quantities.
It's a question, I'm expecting, I mean,
The engineer would have that.
Catherine's not
You can
here,
ask-
so
you
I'm
can ask the
assuming
engineer.
that,
We'll find out for
I
you.
don't have the answers, but
What I'll do is, all your questions, I will get answers for, email you, and blind copy the council, so they know as well.
I thought it was a refund because it's portion match.
Because
No,
what?
no.
No?
I'm not going to speculate. We'll find out.
I'll find out, and I will email you. No Oprah needed.
is this something that was bonded, or is this money that's sitting in our capital account? So do we have that $91,000 sitting in capital available for other, okay, it's a question, do we have that
Yeah.
$91,000
Yeah.
sitting in the capital account? Okay, moving on to resolution 18-64. Same situation here. We're moving money from certain line items, various line items, to legal services and other insurance. I think it would be fair to assume that that's because we have litigation that we've gone over budget on, and the same with the insurance and the deductibles. My question is, the road repairs and maintenance has a big chunk of that money was coming from those line items. Is that because the work wasn't done for the road repairs? And if so, what more work is deleted from the scope that we have that kind of money sitting on those line items to move?
Sometimes there's just extra money, it doesn't mean that the work wasn't done. Anytime that we appropriate money to a line, the superintendent can explain, we always would need to have extra and not enough, because if you don't have enough, then you can't complete the
That's
project.
about $80,000.
So, as I said, as the superintendent, those questions would be directed to him.
Right,
as to
so
what we-
the question is, did we delete scope of work again?
Directed towards the
Right,
market.
so I guess was that making a list?
We'll find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
The group insurance, also we're moving money, I'm assuming that's because of the retirement of chief, or for some reason, we're saving $24,000. And the social security system, again, I'm not sure why we have an excess of $24,000 sitting in that line item. That's being transferred to legal and insurance. So if I could just get those answers. I'm sorry, I have a lot of questions today. This is resolution, you already answered that one. The resolution 1870, I know it's not a lot of money, but I'm just curious why the insurance company isn't covering expert witnesses in lawsuits.
That's in a litigation where the borough is suing on its behalf and its citizenry
Okay.
against
So
an
insurance is
engineering
not
firm.
involved.
Insurance is not involved, correct?
Okay,
And
thank you.
just so you know, it's an existing expert witness that we have. We had him last year as well. We're just,
Okay, I just
real
wanted
quick.
to know whether if there's something the insurance company is covering or not. That's it for today. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Hi, can I just present a picture to,
If you can, just state your name and address,
Yeah, sure.
and then we'll take that. Thanks.
okay, so my name is So Young Lee, my address is 195 Pershing Road, and I actually came to last month's meeting, about, how to really prevent cars from out of town, from speeding on Pershing Road and on other roads, where out-of-town cars pass. And I'm wondering whether there has been any development in terms of, I have not seen any police activity or any other activity. The pictures that I just gave you to you, there was a major accident on Pershing Road.
I'm sorry, can you just help? Chief, can you just have your conversations outside, please, because it's disruptive, please? Can you have your conversations outside? It's disruptive. I can't hear the type. I can't. He was. Please, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No problem. So, and there was an accident where a car was speeding more than like 50 per mile on Pershing Road, and you can see from the pictures, that kind of accident did not happen on a residential street. And I really would like to ask the town or the borough to implement something, some other measurement to.
Yes, I actually, after you left last month at the meeting, I complimented you. You weren't here for the compliment, but I complimented you to others because you actually showed up, stated a problem, and you also stated a solution for us, which was the potential speed bumps that we would put on Pershing. And I had the borough administrator price out different options for speed bumps. So it is in process. She was coordinating with the police department, and then it takes a little while to finish, but she told me that she gave me the budget of what it would cost, and we're just trying to figure out what the best solution is. So I appreciate your problem and your potential solution, and we did listen to you, and we are following up.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, can I expect something will be done, like, within a reasonable time?
I am hoping. I'm hoping,
Thank you.
I'm trying.
I just also want to share
Yeah.
about this accident, because really, this kind of damage should not happen, like, on any resident street. And that happened, like, a week after I came to the meeting last time. And I hope, with these bumps, like, it will really reduce this kind of accident and reduce other cars too.
Yeah, we're hoping.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming again. Anybody else raise your hand and be recognized? Yes, you didn't raise your hand. No, you go. You go. No, you raised your hand, I recognized you. He didn't raise his hand, I didn't recognize you.
Good evening, Tony Moore, President of the Scott Street Englewood Cliffs. Question, on the no turn on red on John Street, is there any progress or is it dead?
I was told that it's dead. Right? From our borough administrator speaking with the police department traffic division.
Is there any reason why it's dead?
I could find out more reasons for you. I don't know if I could tell you all the reasons right now, but
If it's from the administrator in writing,
part of the reason, as I understood it, was that it would just reroute people to other streets.
and give me a break after 50 years.
Right.
Give it to another street.
Right.
It's very simple. Okay, but I want it in writing, if you don't mind.
Okay, fine.
Okay?
Keep it listening.
That's number one. Number two, I've been coming every month and asking the council, as well as the mayor, and you all know what's going on. What's happening with the properties by the side of Cafe Italiano, where it's all boarded up, no numbers on the house, cars parked like a junkyard in the back. Sea containers, unpaved. I have the code. Now you're telling me you're hiring somebody to give some old lady a ticket for not cutting her grass,
No, I'm
or
not telling
not
you that.
cleaning her gutter, and this is going on now for 15 years. And I'm not just
We-
blaming you, understand something, it's been before you.
Our property maintenance official has been finding that property. You don't see fines, they don't light up, they don't get posted on phone poles, but they've been fined. And we're trying to find a solution.
Call the tow truck, tow the cars out and take the sea containers out.
It's private property.
Really? They did it in Hackensack.
Well, we're not Hackensack.
Well, then, you know something? Maybe we should look at other towns.
Right.
And maybe pick up from
Well,
there.
we have the property maintenance official dealing with it, and it may not be as fast as you'd want it to be dealt with, but there are other issues in town as well that they're dealing with. I know they've been fined, and I don't know if the fines have been paid or not.
I'm not really interested in fines. I'm interested in something to be done. Your code says that it's supposed to look in uniform
Right.
order. Putting up a building is not uniform.
Yeah.
Putting a number on the building is not out of the question. I don't understand it. What are you finding?
Well, okay, so if I could, I don't know anything in particular, but what I can say generally is the way property maintenance works and how a municipality gets relief from property owners that may not be following our code is in fact to issue summonses that carry with them fines, and in fact, if they aren't paid and the violation fixed, they're given a deadline usually, then it can be brought further, like to the County Board of Appeals. It can also be brought possibly to the local municipal court. So I don't know where in the process this is, but we can't just,
You know, Counselor, it
Yeah.
sounds great. It
Okay.
sounds great.
I
Let me tell you,
understand.
this is
We
going
have to
on
follow
over
the
a
law,
year.
too.
I'm glad you're following the law.
We have to.
Then let's do it.
okay,
Let's not just fine,
Well, the mayor-
let's correct.
okay. I understand.
There has to be a correction somewhere.
Okay. The borough doesn't undertake repairs, sir. What the borough can correct is to continue to follow the code as to this particular property owner. We're not authorized to expend money to fix the problem at the site. We are authorized by
I'm not
law to
asking
take the
I'm
action.
not asking the town to repair his building.
Okay.
I'm asking the town to remove the junk, so we don't have to look at a junkyard like the South Bronx.
My-
And you don't
my-
have a sea container full of equipment.
My instructions to our property maintenance people was do everything necessary or appropriate to make that property owner comply, okay? And I don't know if you're familiar with how things work in municipal government, but I can give an order like that, and then I somewhat have to hope it gets done.
I understand that.
And now you're complaining again, and I will give that order once again. But we're up against a lot of things in this town when you tell people to do things that they should be doing, okay?
But we're paying them to do it.
And I don't want to trip over anybody's
No,
rights,
but we're paying
but,
them to do it.
right.
You're not doing us a favor.
No.
We're paid to do it.
private
Whatever it is.
landowners still have rights, just like you did when you owned buildings, okay?
I don't say they don't have rights. I do say one thing. If they don't do it, and you give them ample time to do it, you want to give them a year? I think Ms. McMorrow said to me one time, she says, oh, we're going to give him time. When I spoke to the previous, the previous guy who ran the buildings department, he says, oh, every week he's doing something. So instead of putting up windows, he boarded the windows, so it looks like the South Bronx.
My instructions were, do everything necessary or appropriate to make this property owner comply, because I feel the same way about that property as you do, and I'm sure many people in here feel the same way. Okay?
But then there has to be an answer to something here, if nothing's happening, and it's now a year.
Do you need permission to do anything for us?
It's a year.
Right now, I can't have you authorize it.
I never said to you that we're giving them time, Tony.
No, don't misunderstand me. You know, when I spoke to the first inspector, he said we're gonna give the guy a little time to train out. I understand, I'm not saying to do it 24 hours. But instead of putting up windows, he boarded the building.
Okay.
Mayor, can I suggest we look at our fines and see if our fines are appropriate right now, where we're taking action?
Yeah, I mean, I would add a 0 every time, you know, if they're like a, you know.
You know, Mayor, I mean, it's just, you know, it's just crazy. It's just a little much. Because
no,
now we're gonna hire a
it's
guy
not
who's
only is
gonna
it-
give somebody a ticket for not cutting their lawn.
Well, not only is it
This
crazy,
having the
no,
whole
it's not only is it crazy, but it's frustrating also, from your side of the bar and from mine also, because I'm trying to get this stuff done.
I
And
understand.
for whatever reason, it doesn't happen, okay?
Listen, I come to alert you folks because I don't see things happening.
All right. Good, point well taken, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to be heard?
Frankel, 116 Chestnut Street. I'd like to know if any provisions have been made in town for students or residents that would like to participate in the March for Our Lives in Washington DC, if any type of transportation bus would be available to anybody.
That sounds like a school board issue to me, and if students want to go and they petition their principal or superintendent,
Well, you said you met with students this morning?
no, this evening we had a student government sit up here.
Did they mention anything about being interested in doing
The-
the march?
They didn't mention going to March, they mentioned other things that they're doing in a positive direction for
Do you
everybody.
know of any towns around that would have the bus available if anybody does want to go?
I don't know.
Because last time I spoke with you, you said you would be interested in working on some sort of common sense gun control.
Right, and
And
that,
if people wanted to go there, I thought it'd be a nice idea if the town provided a bus, if they wanted to do so.
well, I mean, I think that's a different thing. I agreed with you on the issue of semi-automatic weapons in the wrong hands, and the background checks and things like that. The bus is going to a march. I mean, I don't know much about it. I hear about it in the news. I think the schools will probably do something. You could organize it through them. But again, there's a lot of liability involved for a borough to be busing students down to Washington
Well,
for a
no, a
march.
lot of towns are providing buses, I just thought maybe the town would. So-
It's really a Board of Ed thing. We can't, the Board of Ed has the relationship with the students. This is for, I think Friday is one of the first, there are people down there right now. The
No,
Board
no,
of...
the actual march is, on
24th.
24th.
Fourth, okay.
It's March for Our Lives
And
in Washington.
Okay, I understand. A Board of Ed responsibility, if they choose to, to provide a bus for the students to go.
So there's nothing in the works.
Nothing from this council up here.
This is not
Because we're not
the board of ed.
we're not the relevant body to be deciding that or organizing that. I reached out to the school to have a student government program so they could participate and see what municipal government's about, and their teachers and administrators were very supportive, and I think it was a very nice thing that happened this evening, and I think it was enriching for them. You could call the superintendent of schools tomorrow and ask
Did you
her.
bring up with those students that how important it would be to have common sense gun control in that meeting?
Did I bring that up? No. No.
No? Okay.
It wasn't my place.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, sir, you.
Mr. Gallantucci, with all due respect, if you are going to comment on the procedures and the matter of the discipline, please wait until we reach that on the agenda, because I need a clear transcript of that matter.
What I wanted to say, number one, was in response to your conversation, which was erroneous with the attorney that appeared here on your behalf. What was sent out by the prosecutor's office was a letter dated February 20th, which I have a copy of. He provided it to me, too.
Who? Who
Brian
provided it to you?
Sinclair.
Okay.
Brian Sinclair.
Okay.
Mr. Sinclair sent this letter to me, not the documents, not the enclosures, but what they do is they send it to the appropriate authority, which is everyone here. So anyone that wants to see what is in that file is certainly able to take a look. Okay?
Who's copied on that letter?
Me.
So there's no, the appropriate authority is not copied on that letter?
Yes, sir. It's to you. It's to the appropriate authority, you folks, and a copy to me.
So what are you suggesting, that we release that letter to the council members?
I'm telling these folks should have the right to take a look at the documents that are provided, that I don't have.
Does your client want to sign a release to that effect?
To what effect? Yes, that they can look at it. That
For a
the
public release?
appropriate authority can
You
look
want,
at
do
it.
you want a public release, or what are you talking
No,
about?
I'm saying that the appropriate authority should have the right to take a look at what was enclosed.
Okay, so Mr. Gallantucci, I would ask you, because there is a lot of litigation between the borough and your client, I would ask you to make that request in writing to me, and I will examine it with the mayor and council at the next available meeting. It may not be, we have a special meeting March 20th, it may or may not be then that we would take it up. I have to see if we have to give you another rights notice. I may request a release from your client. I certainly will look at it.
It's very simple what I'm saying.
Yep, I
They are
understand.
the appropriate authority, and they're entitled to take a look at what was sent back.
I understand. I
Okay.
understand your
The
position.
second thing, you handed me something,
Mhm.
and you said, I tried to email this to you.
No, I called you twice, and I emailed you once. Like last week,
And when
Monday,
did you email me?
Monday or Tuesday?
You emailed me.
Yes.
What email do you have?
Okay, sir, you know what, really, can you please wait till the allotted time on the agenda for that matter, and you can make a
I can
record?
certainly do that.
Thank
But
you.
I just want you to know that when you say that you're sending me something, I'm not receiving it.
No, I didn't try to send that to you,
Oh, I
sir.
thought you said email.
I did email you. I reached out to you by email and phone, asking for you to call me or reply to me about the matter for tonight.
Did you call her?
No, I've never received this.
No, I didn't try to send that to you,
Oh, okay.
sir. It's confidential. If and when the matter is actually, that's confidential. If and when, it says confidential on it, if and when we get to the matter on the agenda, we will discuss it.
Fine.
All right, so, and please raise any issue you have again at the proper place and time, so that a proper transcript can be ordered.
My only recommendation is that everybody knew that they had the right to see.
Okay. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Hi, Lynn Norton, 9 Willow Drive. So just to confirm, I think what Mr. Gallantucci was saying, that the appropriate authority is the mayor and the council. And whenever you're taking an action on the police chief, it should be done by the mayor and the council, not the mayor alone. So just
That's-
confirming the appropriate authority.
Yes, thank you. We'll discuss that later on in another matter. But
Okay.
there are other statutes and code provisions that may vary that, and I'm not going to get into a legal battle about it. Thank you.
Well, at the moment, we're going under that assumption that it's the mayor and the council.
No, you're going under that, ma'am, you're going under that assumption.
I'm
You
going
are.
under the assumption.
So I'm sure a lot of people don't agree with
I feel we
you.
had a very good representative from council giving us that information.
He's not our council, man, don't
The next-
confuse who he is.
Council, C-O-N-S-E-L.
Mhm.
Okay, I was going to thank Mark Neville for taking care of the field, plowing the walking path. It was great, it was nice to use over the weekend when there was plenty of snow on the ground. The next thing was regarding to resolution 18-66 and 18-72, where we're adding more money to the park suit. I know that Mrs. Sabari had mentioned it was a settlement, but my understanding that there was a court order for the governing body or Mayor Kranjak to produce those documents. So what we're saying is you're appealing to the court order.
No, we're
That's
not.
what you're saying.
Excuse me. I'm sorry, ma'am.
Well, that's what she said.
That's what I'm saying.
That's not what's
So
happening,
help me if I'm wrong there.
That is inaccurate, and we are not going to discuss pending litigation. Thank you.
Okay, once again. Another question regarding to Mrs. Sabari's comments on those budget items. Do the council members feel that they're able to vote on any of those budget items if they don't necessarily understand it, or if no one up there understood it, and they're being asked to vote on it today? I might have a concern if I was doing that there. And lastly, this relates to messages from Mayor Kranjak. Mayor Kranjak writes in, let's see, the email dated March 13, 2018. In terms of the information that you received related to the borough, the only true, accurate, non-political, and non-partisan information relating to our borough comes from the borough itself through our meeting minutes, official borough emails, official borough websites, social media postings, and regular borough U.S. mail. Okay, so then, if you want to step back on that, March 2nd, the borough received an email from message from Mayor Kranjak. It was based, I presume, on a letter from his attorney, the attorney representing him in the lawsuit, I guess his brother-in-law, who mentioned something about toilet flushing. Mayor Kranjak took that and ran to town with it. Who knows what was in those tapes? I've not listened to them. The sound includes toilets. Well, maybe the sound includes the toilet flushing, but it's unclear. It's unknown. We do not know. I haven't listened. And then you summarize here and say, well, I never record conversations. ... I'm not pleased with the chief does. And what he's chosen to do is unsavory, wasting time, resources, creepy. And then he says, I'm willing to work with me, with anyone, but the chief has not been willing to do so. I encourage the chief to reflect what he has done. Mayor, you should know better. You have more feelings in here. There are no facts, all feelings. You're putting this out as a memo from the borough of Englewood Cliffs. That is absolutely despicable. Even you have stooped to a new low here. This is not to be acceptable. The office of the mayor has become the laughing stock, and it's a terrible embarrassment. And my solution, since I know you like solutions, is do not use the borough email for your personal vendettas and your political agenda. Thank you.
That was lovely, but it was misrepresenting the truth. The email that went out to the borough was verbatim, word for word, what was spoken up here at our February 14th meeting. Next, anybody else?
You said that it was
Yes.
just that.
Yes.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. We have had some discussion
compromising information, confidential information. We haven't had any discussion about leaks of confidential information. As some of you may know, I am very fond of the civil case room, which is a room in the Bergen County Courthouse where you can get copies of all pleadings. One of those pleadings, filed by one of our police officers, has a great deal of another police officer's medical records. I doubt very much that the officer whose medical records they are gave them to anyone else. And I can only imagine the lawsuit we're going to end up with from the officers whose medical records are now all over Bergen County. So I think before we have people looking at confidential files, we need to figure out how we are going to ensure that those confidential files aren't going to be disseminated. This isn't funny, Councilman Park. Aren't going to be disseminated all over Bergen County, because the taxpayers are the ones who end up paying for those lawsuits.
Yes.
Hi, Maria Valari, 45 Jane Drive. I had to write this down because I get emotional and then I ramble and nobody understands what I'm talking about. So I find it very interesting that the partisan mailings sent out to the residents by Mrs. Geiger and Mrs. Fair and Mrs. Savari express a dissatisfaction for this administration. They blatantly ignore the fact of what the previous administration did not do for the residents of Englewood Cliffs. The sitting administration has done more in their short time in office than the previous one did in approximately 40 years. Now, there are so many wonderful things that the residents are getting from this present administration. We have community night out. It's been such a success. It's an event that no matter who you are, what political side you're on, or whether young or old, can enjoy a fun-filled night with food, activities for everyone. We have a great 5K run. It's another wonderful event where all the residents come out, and it doesn't matter if you're running, walking, or just standing by and watching. The children are having fun, the people are having fun. I can only say that in the 30 years that I've been in this town, it's the only time in the past few years that we've had things that actually work for all of the residents of Englewood Cliffs, not just one side of Englewood Cliffs. I'll give you an example. The only two things that were ever available to residents in this town was the Police's barbecue, where you had to pay to enter, and once you were in there, you felt extremely uncomfortable because maybe you weren't a Democrat. National Night Out was held at the police parking lot. Chunkin Creek was not around when my kids were young, but I have never felt more included in a community than I have in the past few years. And I think it's a shame that we constantly are negative about a side that hasn't been around for that long. Why weren't you all so concerned 40 years ago, 35 years ago, our taxes kept going up, our roads weren't being fixed? I think it's a shame that this is where we are right now. I would also like to share an event that happened this past month. I had a fire on my deck. It involved a tank of propane gas, and it was very scary. Half of my house could have exploded. I have to tell you that the police officers and the volunteer fire responders were extremely professional, and I respect those individuals immensely. I don't think that anybody in this town, anybody, disrespects the police and the fire department, regardless of what we hear over and over again. Okay, I think it's a disservice
to people like me to have to be portrayed as a police leader or a volunteer fire department leader. That's not right, because we all respect these people. Let's make that clear. Anyway, so, having said that, I'm really concerned about the involvement in our election last year, whereby the police unanimously endorsed Mr. Aversa, Ms. So, and Ms. Park for their bid for the mayor and council in an election. Using an official police shield on their mailing, in my opinion, was intimidating to the residents who support the police and did not want to anger them. I speak for myself, and when I say that, Mr. Aversa and Ms. So and Ms. Park, you should recuse yourselves from voting on any all police matters because of the implication that they may owe a favor to Chief Coffey and the police officers who endorsed them in their bid to win an election. The police department, headed by Chief Coffey, should not have involved themselves in an election. If Chief Coffey and any other officer who felt that they were not being treated justly, they had other remedies at hand to express their dissatisfaction. That's all I want to say. And I'm sorry that I got the booze over there, but we all need to be fair and express ourselves in a truthful way and not what's going on right now. This is divisive, and it should stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
Karen, Mark, did you know this?
Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred Street. First of all, in response with one sentence to Mrs. Valari, there's something called the First Amendment. People, employees, do not give up their First Amendment rights because they are employed by the government. And I caution you to read it and perhaps read the case law regarding the 40-minute comments. The second thing.
Ms. Geiger, I don't think Ms. Valari could hear what you said. I could barely hear you.
She was speaking about her First Amendment.
We did that already once, sir. Sir, we did that already once, sir.
Let me get a different microphone.
David.
Put the borough property down, sir.
David, you're not welcome back here. You're not allowed
Put the
back.
borough property
Okay,
down.
I'll say it. Is it working? Is it working? Thank you. Okay. I'll repeat what I said. There's something in this country called
Can
the
you
First Amendment.
just wait a second until the clerk is back and monitoring our reporting? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But, you know, she should be in, she has to monitor everything.
Go ahead. I'm here.
Okay, thank you, Lizette.
It's like Groundhog Day. Thank you. All right. Karen Geiger, 270 Alpha. To Mrs. Valari, we have the First Amendment in this country which protects the freedom of speech and the freedom of expression and gives everyone, including all employees of the borough, the ability to exercise that right. And I suggest that you look at our Constitution and perhaps the case law and even the Hatch Act before you make comments like that. Number two,
She's free to make them, right?
I didn't say she wasn't.
No, not tonight.
No, we don't.
Not tonight.
Okay, tonight we stand, that's all. Number two.
Just put it
No, it's okay, David, I'm fine. Number two.
Yeah.
I read the transcripts of a hearing that took place in February, which
dealt with several allegations that the chief acted in conduct unbecoming. Amongst the allegations, much to my surprise, was the verbatim transcript of a conversation that took place at the prosecutor's office between the chief and whoever was investigating him at those, and resulted in these hearings. Given what Mr. Ruderman said to us today, I wonder how those verbatim items from the transcript of what happened at the prosecutor's office could have found themselves into a borough proceeding. A borough proceeding, the hearings that took place in February, which alluded and included conversations that took place at the prosecutor's office.
I am uncertain what you are speaking about, but whatever is in those, let's clear up the record. The February hearings that you are speaking about had to do with the chief, and they are on the agenda for tonight under new business, is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and those February hearings were open to the public because the chief requested that they be open to the public. You're aware of that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. The matter that Mr. Rudderman, the labor attorney, was here for tonight had nothing to do with that hearing and occurred 6 or 8 months after that hearing.
Absolutely.
So what are you
I'm
speaking about?
I'm not speaking about the matter that Mr. Ruderman was talking about tonight.
Okay.
I am talking about one of the transcripts from the hearings that took place, which were in public, as well as the Rice notice given to the chief, which set forth the allegations from the mayor and council that caused those hearings to be held in February. So we're talking about last year, not this past February, a year ago February, included verbatim transcripts of an interview with the chief at the prosecutor's office. And I want to know how those became public to the mayor or anyone else who used them in that proceeding, given what Mr. Ruderman said tonight about how an IA cannot be made public.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, of course. Okay, number 3.
Just to be clear, though, the mayor didn't submit any evidence in that case.
He did refer charges.
Okay,
to
but
the
he
chief.
did
And
not...
part of those charges...
Excuse me.
You've answered me by
Mrs.
not
Geiger,
answering.
do not assume I have things. Facts are better than your dreams, okay? I don't have
Nothing
them.
was
Believe me,
submitted...
my dreams are not about you.
Nothing...
Thank God.
No evidence was submitted by the mayor in those hearings.
Sorry, honey.
Let's go on.
I just want to be clear.
I noticed on the agenda that was published before 5:30 that the Oprah lawsuit that I filed was on it and then it was removed. As you may know, Judge Cantillo ruled against the borough on January 18th and issued a court order the following day, which ordered the release of a document to me within 20 days, and which awarded reasonable attorney fees. The last day to produce that document was February 8th. Despite assurances that my attorney would receive the document by February, nothing was produced. On March 4th, he sent the borough a demand letter stating that he would file a motion to compel the court if he did not receive the documents, although he hoped that that would not be a necessity. On March 13th, my attorney filed a motion to compel the court. I do not know if each of the council members was aware of this situation. So I am alerting each of you to publicly hope that you can resolve this matter without further cost to the borough.
Thank you, Ms. Geiger, and I apologize because I am the one that represented to Walter Lowers, your lawyer, that I would send the document that was court-ordered, and I located it yesterday. I was supposed to scan it and send it, and I got too consumed with stuff on the agenda
I
and
understand we're talking
preparation.
about a February 8th.
I'm aware of that. And
Okay.
by the way, me on behalf of the borough and your attorney have reached an agreement. The resolution should be back on the agenda on March 20, and the special meeting that's coming up on Tuesday night. And we have reached an agreement on his attorney's fees, and they are going to be approved under the voucher system and all that other stuff. So,
I hope
Well,
you do
I'm
also
reserving
allow
that.
for the additional costs that
Well,
he's incurred
we're-
because you failed to meet your obligations. Number 3, finally, Mr. Wu, at the last council meeting, you stated that you relied on information that you received from the borough attorney when you made your vote.
I'm sorry, and what?
What are you talking about?
I'm the public safety director before he voted. Before he voted, Councilman Wu said, I'm going to paraphrase you, Bill, I'm sorry. He said, I'm going to vote based on I had a discussion with the borough attorney, and based on that information, I am voting yes. Now, what I want to know is there was no mention of the Favaro-Simon lawsuit on the resolution to go into executive session this evening. So I assume that it was not discussed. What I would like to know is if the borough attorney has shared with you her perception of what happened at the March 1st case management conference with Judge Perez Bishop. It's my understanding that Ms. Rizzuto requested a transcript of the conference.
Incorrect.
And
I did not.
Well,
I can't hear you, I'm sorry.
All I'm saying is, I understood that you requested it, or someone from the borough did, but if it wasn't you, my comment is still the same.
Okay, it
I
wasn't-
suggest that you get a copy of that
Hold on a
transcript
second.
and give it to each council member, and I strongly encourage each council member to request that of the borough attorney. Thank you.
Okay. And just for the record, I didn't request a transcript, and no one from the borough that I'm aware of requested a transcript. It was a case management conference. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wishing to be heard, please raise your hand.
I don't have it, so
Back over
I
there.
don't have it. I have no idea what she's talking about.
Okay. Yeah. No, I thought I saw a hand up in the back, but it's yours.
May I, be allowed to touch borough property?
I'm just gonna, can you just clear the doorway, please?
Who's in the doorway? I don't see anyone in the doorway. Can I touch borough property? Is it okay?
State your name and address, please.
Sure, may I? Well, you told me before I couldn't touch my...
I told you.
Oh, you told me?
Yes.
So, well, can I have permission from you then?
You don't need my permission, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
You're being, thanks for the cutesiness, but we don't need it right now.
Okay.
Can we
well,
move
no
on?
juiciness then.
Can we move on?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
David Gregorio, 165 Charlotte Place. I am one of those that do not have a place in Englewood Cliffs, according to the mayor's speech. I guess it was his inaugural speech or the second one. I was at the planning board meeting last week, and I was very disappointed at how our good neighbor, corporate neighbor, Toyota, was being treated. They had a proposal, looked like a good proposal. I think they've been an excellent corporate neighbor, and I think that we really need to, very much need to take care of our corporate neighbors. Are you following this, Mr. Mayor?
No,
Am I keeping you up? Okay.
not at all.
Okay, thank you.
I'm just trying to understand what you are trying to say.
Well, referring to the 600 units and the lawsuit by Normandy, I think that was
I
mishandled.
thought you were talking about Toyota.
I am.
Right.
Well, you got to connect the dots. basically, I think that we have 9W, we have Sylvan Avenue, we have a lot of corporate neighbors there that, and a lot of them were attracted by the previous administration, which you love so dearly, and the one before that. That's the Parisi administration. I think his name used to be on the administrative building before you took it down. Is that correct? You took it down, right? Carol was holding the ladder.
It's your time. You are free to use it however you want, you know?
So,
Go ahead. Why don't you get to your
to
point?
proceed, I was just trying to make some points as I go along.
Yeah, let's be productive. Make your points.
I am. I think I am. So, all right, so we're at the building. Okay, you're taking the name down of your predecessor, which you always seem to degrade. And he did a lot to bring corporations into this town. So, what I'm saying is, and I would appeal to you and to the planning board to not give these corporate people a hard time, especially if they're private citizens. Make sure that we go out of our way. Perhaps you, Mr. Mayor, could go visit these corporations and just say, is everything okay? I think Ms. O'Shea...
How do you know I don't?
If you do, that's great. Why don't you put it in your newsletter? That'd be great. That's something nice to put in your newsletter.
It's in there.
So anyway, Ms. O'Shea was saying something about parking. So I think it's very, very important that we take care of our corporate citizens. And I think we should not make the mistake that Mr. Perino's commission made and have 600 units before. Moving on. I think, Mr. Mayor, you had a wonderful opportunity, and I will say it again, I voted for you, to reach out and reach across the aisle, and to forge relationships as a true leader would do with the police department. Now, let's just take a look at what's happening here. I think we just hired a public safety director, which I think probably every chief in New Jersey would advise against.
Well, he's a former chief himself, so
Well, I'm saying other chiefs.
they all belong to the same association, right?
Well, it's not advisable, and it costs $50,000 as a town. Now, did we hire, was it more than $50,000?
We don't have a salary.
We don't have a salary yet.
Don't have salary, yet. That's interesting.
That's not true.
Hours.
Okay, so who else did we hire under your
It's
administration?
50,000, so just be clear on that. Right? It's 50,000.
Okay, I'd like to just go a little bit forward, because I don't want to take too much time up here. So who else did we hire since you were elected? We hired a public, a town administrator. And how much, is she still here? Is she? No? Could I ask, what happened to the town administrator?
You could ask, I'm not going to answer you.
Would she get scared? Maybe, I don't know. I'm sorry, was she nice? We probably shouldn't discuss her.
Right. Thank you.
Right? Am I right?
Thank you.
So, are you going to hire another public administrator, town administrator? So what I'm getting at is you're hiring all these people when the town was running actually a lot better and with a lot less lawsuits before you became mayor. So I'm just asking what the problem is here. You know, what is the problem? So I would encourage you to review your actions of the last couple of years, and I would encourage you to reach out, and I would also encourage you to apologize for the huge mess that you've made out of Englewood Cliffs. Because believe me, I hear it in all the other towns, what's going on in your town. So I would encourage you to...
I hear great things. I hear great things.
I'm glad
So I
you
just
do.
we're speaking to two different people.
All right, well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
You never really connected all the dots, but it's okay. Thank you. Anybody else wishing to be
I
heard?
leave that to you to connect the dots.
I drew them all, and I can't tell you what it shows
Well,
up.
I wouldn't expect you to be able
All
to
right,
connect
anybody
the
else?
dots because you've made such a mess out of this town.
Thank you. You're very insightful.
Okay.
Thank
And
you.
I would say also that Mario is a very good name for you because you have been a marionette And Ms.
Well,
McMurray has been the marionette operator.
So what I always
Thank
tell,
you.
for everybody who's new to this meeting, what I always tell people is attack issues, not people. Mr. Di Gregorio is unable to do that. Yes, sir.
Please.
Hold on. You have to get out of the doorway, please.
I'm not in the doorway.
You are.
I try not to hold up the proceedings, what should be important government matters here.
Name,
I'm sorry.
name and address, please.
Sorry. Russell Carino, 220 Fairview Avenue. Thank you. We had a planning board meeting. I'm going to speak as chair of the planning board for a moment. We had a meeting, Mr. Park, I'm going to be stealing a bit of your thunder. You didn't attend, I know you were unable to attend our last planning board meeting. So I will basically give you a report if you do not mind. We had one item on our agenda this past week, which was 50 Sylvan Avenue, the Toyota dealership, asked for a small expansion of their building, reconstruction of signs, etc. That approval was granted to the applicants with conditions. And for those of the members of the public that don't know, and members of the governing body, it's not our job to just approve or deny. It's all in the details. So there were a series of somewhere between 6 and 10 conditions added to that approval to make sure that we as the board members know what was going to be done and what it's going to look like when it's finished. So one of the residents got up and spoke about that and yelled a bit about why are we creating issues for corporate America. It's our job to make sure it's done right. So although there seems to be a need here for a circus conversation, I find it disruptive. They haven't got our planning board meeting. It's just not right. And every member in this room, residents and elected officials, should say, just stop. Just stop. Speak like a gentleman. Treat everybody in this room like a gentleman and like a gentlewoman. It's not right. But I want to clear the record about what happened at the planning board meeting last week, just so the members of the governing body know, and the residents know the truth and not some made-up story. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I actually want to thank you, Mr. Carino, for chairing the planning board. I know you're very busy these days with a lot of things going on, most of which we can't speak about publicly, but just know that we appreciate everything you're doing. And as I look around, I see Ralph and Mark from DPW. You guys do a great job. Thank you also. We appreciate everything you do. Special mention to Carol, who's been working so hard on the COA project that we have. I can't get into the details, but just know that she's doing really well there and working very hard. William and Mark have been working very hard on Public Safety Committee. Appreciate everybody's help. You know, this is how we kind of move forward, by everybody doing their jobs. And one of the things I encourage people to do in the public is get involved by actually doing something, not just complaining about things that you probably don't have all the facts on anyway. So get involved, you'll figure out the facts, and you'll understand more about what we face on a day-to-day basis. Mr. Morfessis is absolutely right. You know, I can't even use the words that I want to use to describe that property down there, but you're right, you know, and I appreciate that. But let's get some solutions, folks. Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
I'm Mary O'Shea, 12 Irving Avenue. I really wasn't going to get up and say anything, but after being attacked personally by Mr. Gregorio at the planning board meeting and being called out again tonight by him, I need to say something. As an individual and as a private citizen, I have attended Board of Adjustment and planning board meetings every month for years before I was appointed to any seat have any official capacity. And I did speak up in a positive fashion and watched. And there were many times items that was happening at some of those meetings that were inappropriate. Approvals that were given because somebody gave a $5,000 donation to a PAC that was run by somebody that was connected to somebody else.
the Toyota dealership, many of the residents here might appreciate the fact, like Mr. Perino, the chairman, said, we negotiated with him at that meeting and got a lot of concessions from him. I think the members here would be happy to hear that the 3 big red Toyota signs are going away. I think some of the members here would be happy to hear that the owner of the dealership was advised that we have seen or heard that cars parked on Van Nostrand Avenue for the dealership shouldn't be there. We have been advised that cars that were parked at the top of Van Nostrand Avenue near the Flat Rock Brook entrance should not be parked there. And we made him aware of these things, and he was going to talk to his employees. He said it's against the employees. We also got time limitations on the lighting, the new sign that's going to be put on. And it's going to go off a half an hour after the last employee leaves, at the latest 11 o'clock. And I know from personal observation that those 3 big red Toyota signs were on all night. So Mr. Gregorio might feel that that's harassing a corporate resident, a corporate entity in our town. I think it's an improvement and improving the corporate residents in our town for the benefit of the residents. So, you know, Mr. DeGorio might want to go to Comedy Central with his Dog and Pony show. But people here really try to do the right thing and try to improve the situations. We have many buildings that were approved and had approvals or not approvals that they shouldn't have had. And when they come in for something, it's our opportunity to try to rectify some of those erroneous and incorrect items. And we can do it when the property owner's coming in asking for something else. And I think that the board did a very good job with the Toyota dealership, and those complaints are not warranted, all right? Now, I also want to comment on something else. Although Ms. Geiger says that the police officers have their civil rights, and I'm not going to dispute that, but historically, the police in this town previously did not get involved in politics. And I said this once before at a meeting. At that time, many of them lived in town, and they would not even declare themselves as a Republican or a Democrat. They left themselves as odds. They didn't get involved because they didn't want to have it appear that they were playing favorites. And when Ellen ran with Mr. Kochner, she got the support of the police department and the PBA. Outrageous, okay? Then Ed and Gloria did the same thing. Again, I consider it outrageous, okay? The people of this town should feel that when they call the police, and I'm very glad that they responded to Maria Valari's without a problem, but there's been times that some of those people are afraid to call for assistance. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
They can come and speak up themselves.
Why, they don't have the voices maybe that you have, okay?
You want change?
Yeah, Glenn, be quiet.
Please,
okay?
let the speaker speak.
You're really rude. You're really rude.
Hold on. Everybody, you have to stay quiet, okay? Otherwise, just leave and come back after you finish your conversation.
And I believe that these lawsuits that are being initiated across the board by the police department against the mayor and council, by the police chief against the mayor and council, by Ellen Park for her look-see, looking for documents, and Karen for looking for documents. My God, you know, everybody, when the packet comes, sometimes they don't read it till they get to the meeting. So what do they want these documents for? They want to get the documents so that they can put it in a flyer or hand it over to somebody else for a political reason, and it's a shame. And it costs this town a fortune. for this stuff, and they're not doing any work on the council. They're sitting here smiling and laughing and thinking it's a big, big fun time. I would like to see the 3 Democratic council people do some work in this town instead of just causing trouble.
Thank you, Mary.
Mary, I think you forgot, maybe one lawsuit that was filed by the council president against the council.
I said lawsuit.
Okay,
So don't remind.
No, you're not to fight with, don't fight with residents, it's not good. No, don't fight with residents.
We're not fighting. Mary, okay.
Stop, everybody. Folks, don't fight with residents. Residents, you've had your piece, so thank you for speaking. That was one of the better ones that I've heard in a long time. We've got the plaintiffs over there, we've got these, come on, everybody, let's work together, will you? You already spoke, you're not coming back. Anybody else?
Starts with the mayor.
Anybody else? All right, motion to close public session.
Second.
All in favor? Point of order, yes. Hold on. We have a point of order, and it was...
I'm going to ask for everyone to please just allow me the opportunity to speak. And I'm sorry if I'm going to get upset. Shut up. You people are so rude, you are abusive.
All right, let's do
I'm looking
this.
at Chief Murphy, and I really do
I'm
respect
going
you,
to put
but
us
please
into...
don't laugh at me.
Well, let's go into recess for 5 minutes, okay? We're having a recess for 5 minutes. No one speaks in the
No,
audience.
sir. Public is closed.
We're recessing for 5 minutes. We'll be back. All right, we're back into session. The recess is over. Point of order, Councilwoman Ms. Morrow had the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize. This is difficult because it's very hard for me when I see that the people that I'm working here up on the dais, I'm really asking for some respect and quiet. As an individual who works very hard, it's very hard for me to, when I find information out, that the people that I'm sitting up here that I trust, because you have to trust people that are on your board of directors, whether they're on opposite sides of the party or not. And when you find out that they're working against you, and they're working with members of the public to bring lawsuits or to get information, to harm you, it's a very difficult thing, and this is my opinion. I want to preface this statement. It's my opinion. It appears, I've asked my attorney if I'm allowed to talk about the documents that Chief Chaffee submitted into his discovery. And when I read these documents, which are not marked confidential, Mr. Galantucci, I did check. And I respect you. I met you a couple of years back. You invited me for a cup of coffee to your office about 8 years ago. I am shocked is not, I don't even know what word to use. But I'm going to give you some details because they're not confidential documents. So we have emails from members of the fire department going to Joe Favaro, going to Joe Parisi, going to Melanie Simon, going to Karen Geiger, going to Gloria O, going to Carter Carson's Breslin and Breslin office. Carter Carson is the attorney that represented me when I was on the council in 2012 and I went to for advice when I was a council person, who's now suing me. Ellen Park, Glenn Norton, and Debbie Fair. Subject matter conflicts of interest. And there's other emails. From Karen Geiger. Excuse me. No, I'm asking you to let me.
No, you don't have the floor. You don't have the floor.
I just want to make sure that's on the record.
That is
You
not what I
just
said.
mentioned my name.
You don't have the floor. You can have a point of order later, but not right
But
now.
I
Okay,
just
can you do
I
that
just want
later?
I just want
Later.
clarification.
Later.
I did not say what you just said.
Then why did you mention my name?
You don't have the
Because
floor.
you're in the email.
Do not address it.
What email? Between who and who?
All right.
May I
Is this
continue?
difficult for you? You could have your own point of order later, all you want. But right now, you don't have the floor, okay?
Then we have another email from Karen Geiger, against the members of the fire department. Melanie Simon, Lynn Norton, Debbie Sperry, more members of the fire department. Nora Jobson, again Carter Carson, Breslin and Breslin. Ed Aversa, Gloria O, Ed Fair, Chairman of the Planning Board. Joe Favaro, Artie O'Keefe, former chief in Englewood, and Joe Parisi. In taking just a few words from the body of the email, in the mail tomorrow, it's about Karen Geiger's town-wide letter. In the mail tomorrow, didn't want you to be too surprised. I hope it helps. Karen Geiger is the president of Ion Eclipse, and Debbie Sabari is a member of the Ion Eclipse, and so is Deborah Fair. And they represent themselves to the public as a bipartisan group. I can tell you right now that this does not appear to be bipartisan. They are nonpartisan, I apologize, a nonpartisan group. This does not appear to be nonpartisan, and the emails were sent during the day, during the workday, and they were forwarded to the chief of police. Everyone has a constitutional right to freedom of speech, I understand that. Misrepresenting facts to the public when you're nonpartisan, saying you're nonpartisan and you're not, is a very serious thing, in my opinion. Working against a fellow council person to file a lawsuit. You hate me? Hate me. You file it against the borough that you have a fiduciary duty to serve. You should be ashamed of yourselves, every single one of you, for bringing these lawsuits, helping, assisting. I saw Melanie Simon run to you, Gloria, at the end of the last meeting saying, how can she vote? How can she vote? How can she vote?
Excuse me.
I heard it. So did Mary
The public
O'Shea.
has no floor rights right now, okay? You had your
We're
opportunity.
supposed to work together here. We're supposed to work together here.
Are you done? Are you done?
You should be done. If you put as much energy into
Are
doing
you
work
done?
for this borough, we would be in a better place. All you people do is you want to file lawsuits continually. Continually.
Look, I could,
Everyone knows what we've gone through with the Ellen Park lawsuit. Everybody knows in the last 2 weeks, the amount of time, all the attorneys, the money it cost this town. I mean,
Because you won't give me the email.
how about that?
You have an order and you
You don't-
won't give me the email.
Ellen, you are not telling the truth.
Really? That's
Okay,
what I
so-
see you in court.
all right, so here's the, are you finished? All right, so let me just say this, I understand the craving for power, but and that's, but really, if you have power, do good things with it. We're trying to do good things.
Actually, I did.
You don't have the floor. You were selling vitamins to the police department.
You know what?
Look, here's the thing. I sent an email to Ed, Gloria, and Ellen on Saturday saying, did you have any issues or comments regarding the package for the council meeting? Crickets. And then Ed did respond that I have issues, but I'll deal with them at the meeting. No, folks, you have to work in between the meetings, not at the meetings. At the meetings, we're here to report to you what we did right, what we did wrong, what we need to do better at.
5:17.
But you do not-
Final agenda today.
You had this on Friday.
5:17
You had this on
today,
Friday.
email, final agenda.
You had this
Long
on,
agenda.
you had this on Friday. I'm sorry you don't have, I'm sorry you don't have the time.
Email, 5:17, final agenda.
I'm sorry you don't have the time for the
You know
town.
what, it was the
But
first
I have
time
time
you
to be here.
reached out and asked for questions.
You need,
There was a reason
you
why
need to
you
read
said
your
that.
packages and do some work, okay? Because at the end of the meeting tonight, when we have our committee reports, we're also going to have a report of what you actually did as council people since the last meeting, okay? All right.
Let's move on.
All right, move on. There's no public session, ma'am. I'm sorry, and we're not listening to you anyway right now, okay? Thank you.
You know, Mr. Mayor.
No.
Councilwoman made an act.
We are going to go to the next point of our agenda.
Ma'am, you can't do this now. You can't.
You can't do this. You're being disruptive. I'm going to ask you to be removed.
Well, there are certain things, I sit here very respectful, but it's...
Okay. Here's the next thing on the agenda. All right, next thing on the agenda. Let's do the payment of claims. And Councilwoman McMorro, William, I'm sorry. William is our Finance Committee Chair.
I'm going to make a motion to pay the claims.
Officer, Ms. Simon is being disruptive. Ms. Simon, this is her first warning. Next time, I'm going to ask you to remove her.
How many warnings do I get, Mr.
You get one warning and one removal, okay? Thank you. Right now, we are.
Can everyone hear Councilman Wu? We're making a motion.
We'll make a motion for the payment of claims for the period between February 15 to March 14 for $8,973,969.
Thank you.
Give a second, please. Mark seconded it. Do we have a vote?
Councilperson Aversa?
No.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
No.
McMorro?
Abstain.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
3 yeses.
Okay, it passes.
Mhm.
We have resolutions, I think we're pulling 1872.
We are?
Folks, can you just keep it down, really? I mean, we have a meeting, this is what we do, we volunteer our time, we're trying to get through it. You guys can go have coffee anywhere in this town that you want, but not here, okay? Let us do our work.
We're pulling 72?
Yet,
Well, I could hear you pretty well, so that's a problem, right?
And right.
All right.
yeah.
We're pulling
I
1872.
forgot.
We pulled it back.
We were supposed,
All right.
All
So,
right,
Madam
start?
Clerk, would you please start with 1862?
Okay.
Wait, just a minute, I need to make this clear. Council members, we're pulling 1872 for
Okay.
now. Did they hear that?
No, I'll tell.
Oh,
All right.
I'm sorry. It was my
1862,
mistake.
authorized change order number 5 for resurfacing at Whitty Field tennis courts and basketball courts. Need a motion?
So moved.
Who moved it, Tom?
William.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Discussion, please?
Yes, Councilman Aversa.
So, I...
Can you talk into the...
I had asked this earlier in caucus. Do we know exactly what this is? Is it...
So, Councilman Aversa, there is an engineering report that explains what happened.
No, I understand that part.
Yeah.
I'm just strictly talking about the dollars. What...
Yeah, I have to be honest with you. I wrote this resolution last week, and I reviewed the report, and I discussed with the borough administrator, and to be honest with you, I don't have the report with me, and I can't seem to...
I believe that what happened was, we had them resurfaced, and we had a warranty claim on some of the resurfacing that had to be done under the claim.
So, is this... But that's why I asked the question. Is that different?
I thought it related to
Yeah,
it.
see, I'm not sure either.
And
That's why-
so, just so you know, the report of the engineer is the standard review for final payment. It just so happens is that in that review, there's actually a savings of almost $100,000.
That's all I'm asking. Is this a credit towards us?
This is a credit to us.
Or
No,
money that we're
no.
not paying?
We didn't pay them that. The
Okay.
money is still in the borough coffers.
Okay, so the question is that?
Yes, okay, it's still in the borough coffers.
That's all I asked, for just clarification on the
Okay.
numbers. I mean, I understand.
And there's a legitimate reason why it happened, and an engineering report to back it up.
We're going to give you the report. Okay.
Right.
All right.
Do we have the voting?
No,
I'm just waiting for the call and vote.
Okay. Councilperson Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu. Resolution 1863, appointment of property maintenance inspector. Need a motion? Yeah, no, Park.
Park.
Second.
Councilperson Aversa?
Say yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
1864, transfer appropriation reserves. This was submitted to us by our CFO. Need a motion?
So move.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Discussion? So without really knowing what the $100,000 is for under the other insurance, I don't feel comfortable voting for this right now.
Well, this is prepared by our CFO, so
Yeah,
we
but
rely
she
on
didn't
him. And
have, detailed description of what the $100,000
today,
is for.
right, I'm sorry, but you don't have to vote on it, but this is Wednesday. You received this on Friday. So between Friday and Wednesday, we could have had the question and the answer for you, but you're asking me now at 10:20 p.m.
No, we asked know what it is either. Yeah, we asked you this during yes?
I rely on the CFO, okay?
Great.
And
Good to know.
I do, yeah, it is actually good to know, right? Because I do rely on him, he's very good. But the bottom line is, you guys have had this, and you sat on it till 10:20 p.m. to raise an issue. So this is not how responsible council people behave, okay? You don't have to vote on it, but we're going to try to pass this, okay?
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
No.
O.
No.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
1865, authorized shared services agreement for animal control and EAP. Motion?
Second.
So this is the agreement that we modified with the Bergen County Shelter, where we send our animals for strays and other problem animals. The issue in town, once again, was we don't want to send them to a kill shelter, is what some residents said. Other residents said they don't care. The facility at Bergen County is much better in terms of the physical place than the alternatives. So I thought what we could do, and we were able to do this successfully, is work out a deal with the Bergen County Shelter where they keep our animals. If they're going to have to be euthanized, they give us notice, and we have 10 days to find an alternative shelter, okay? So they agreed, we modified the agreement, it went back and forth, so here we are.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Woo. 1866, authorization to extend not to exceed special litigation counsel in Councilwoman Ellen Park's lawsuit against the borough captioned Ellen Park versus Borough.
Can we have a discussion on this?
Yes, but just to remind you guys, we changed this from 15,000 down to 8,500 and 5,000 for future.
No, I understand that.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Okay.
I'm confused about this.
Yeah, so a couple questions I have. I'm looking at the resolution, and it's stating that Carol McMorro is a defendant. I
Yes.
thought she was removed from this case.
She was voluntarily dismissed by Ellen Park, but subsequently the judge gave an order that directed Carol McMorro to produce certain things. And now there is additional litigation occurring as of yesterday. So while she was, so while, and you should probably see it in my summary from last month, but while the litigation, she was dismissed from the litigation by Ellen Clark and her attorney, but then the judge issued an order that still required documents from her. So that's where we're at.
I don't want to get into details.
No,
of
you
litigation.
can't ask any questions, Ellen, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're recused,
I
you
know, I
can't
understand,
ask.
but
He's not even allowed to be sitting up on this day.
What's the other?
Please, I'll get off.
What's the other lawsuit?
Would you mind, Ellen, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, that's horrible.
So what's the other
I
lawsuit?
understand.
then?
What
You
other
said one
lawsuit?
just came out yesterday.
No, more litigation in the same lawsuit.
You have to leave the room.
I don't, all right, let's just get moving here.
All right.
And this is why these litigations are so expensive to the borough, and for what? For what? So you want to see my emails? It makes no sense.
So this is why you should have just given the emails.
No,
I mean, it's costing the borough how many thousands
We gave
of
the
dollars?
emails.
you got them all, babe. You got them all.
Okay. I need a motion.
So
Councilperson Zaversa?
No.
E. Park?
She's
Yep,
refused.
recused. O.
No.
McMorro? M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
It doesn't pass? Well, no, it's tied. No, it's 2-2.
But he can't break the tie, Mayor, because he's,
Yes.
aren't you a defendant in this case?
They're not my attorneys.
No.
Can the mayor-
No, he's not barred from voting, he's a defendant.
He's a defendant, so how can he vote on this same matter?
It's not my attorneys.
We have said repeatedly that because they are named defendants
Yes.
does not automatically mean they have to recuse. And in fact, that's already been verified and said in a certain discussion on the record that was talked about earlier. So, he does not have a conflict of interest in this vote, in this resolution.
You know, you should also think about, before you guys file lawsuits, what you're doing to the justice system, right? There are kids and families that need these judges to help them, right? They're not as privileged as you all are here, but you guys are wasting our judicial time with this kind of stuff, because you want to see my email, if you could give it to them. Listen, there's kids and people who really need judges to do justice for them. This is what you're taking away from society, okay? Keep it in your heads next time you file. You and you, all of you.
I haven't filed also, I don't point your finger, don't point your finger at me.
All right.
Next.
Excuse
me.
You know what, how about if you point your finger on the other side, Mayor? There's a lawsuit coming,
Okay,
from
let's
the
go.
other side.
1867.
You can return.
Wait a minute, did you take the
Not
vote?
messing up the town.
Okay, thank you, sir, please.
The mayor voted yes.
Okay.
The mayor voted yes and broke the tie.
You're gonna have to leave. You're gonna have to leave. You have to leave.
And say that people brother goes, keep quiet, okay? Go back to your moderator. Connect with us.
Oh, my God. Go back to the...
1867.
Authorize processing of unclaimed funds request.
The gentleman next to Debbie Ferris gotta leave.
Really, Henry?
I'm concerned for the safety of the people here. No, he's gotta leave. The person behind Melanie Simon. I don't like that, sir. I don't need people like that being violent.
All right. Okay. Thank you, sir.
I have a...
Wait a minute. Members of the public, please tone down, please. We are trying to get through the agenda. Everyone, please. I'm sorry, is that...
It's okay. I have a motion from Councilwoman McMorro. I need a second.
Which one are we on?
Authorize processing of unclaimed funds request.
Second.
Okay. Councilperson Zaversa? E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu. 1868, accept donation for conference room chairs from Unilever.
So moved.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu. 1869, approve New York Grand Fondo bicycle race tour through Englewood Cliffs.
So moved. Second.
Wait, who did it?
A person.
You got it?
Yeah. Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu. 1870, authorize hiring of expert witness Theodore Bayer, P.E. for Englewood Cliffs versus Boswell Engineering.
So moved.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu.
Yes.
1871, and we did change the name of the borough administrator in there. 1871, authorized food service and snack stand for Little League.
So moved.
Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro? M. Park?
Yes.
Woo.
Yes.
1872 is being pulled.
Thank you.
And 1873, authorizing the borough clerk to advertise for the vacant position of borough administrator.
Second.
That's it, voting.
Just
Discussion?
Sorry, yes.
Quick question. So who will, we know who's gonna do the borough administrator's duties?
No, we can't talk about this now.
We can't
We're
talk
not
about
talking
that.
A person, we're talking about who's gonna,
Okay, we can't talk about that, but I just need to ask the clerk something.
Okay, well.
Okay, please correct the title,
Okay.
because they're all looking at you.
They're all looking at me? Okay, I stand corrected. The borough attorney asked me to change what I said. 1873, authorize the borough clerk to advertise for the position of borough administrator.
Somebody, who moved it?
Who moved it?
Mark, I second.
Mark seconded?
Mark moved it, William seconded.
Councilperson Zaversa?
no.
E. Park?
No.
O.
No.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Mayor?
Yes,
All resolutions are done, Mayor.
thank you. Public hearing on ordinance 1803. Madam Clerk, would you please read that?
An ordinance amending ordinance 1709 entitled, "An Ordinance Fixing Salaries, Wages, and Compensation for All Salaried Appointed and Elected Officers Within the Borough of Englewood Cliffs in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey."
Can we have a discussion on this, please?
We're gonna, would you open to the public or have a discussion first?
Okay.
It's the second reading, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the second one.
So-
Open to the public.
Let's open to the public first. Can I have a motion to open to the public?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, so if there's any member of the public who wishes to be heard on ordinance 18-03, and only 18-03, please raise your hand and come to the microphone. Yes. State your name and address.
This is for the public safety director.
Lauren Eastwood, 4 Willow Drive. Before I get to the substance of the ordinance, I would like to raise the issue of conflicts of interest.
On which matter?
1803.
On
On the ordinance that we're
the
discussing.
ordinance that we're discussing.
Okay.
In the last 2 years, I have received multiple mailings with the police patch which belongs to Englewood Cliffs, it's our intellectual property, being used, and in one case, the name Englewood Cliff Police Department being used to endorse political candidates. Well, I happen to agree that the police have a right to freedom of speech. Using the police patch to do so to endorse political candidates is a violation of our rules and regulations. And 3 people up there have benefited from that. They have benefited from people who are risking disciplinary action against them to endorse them using borough property. We see the results of them getting those kinds of favors. We have the second most expensive police contract in the state of New Jersey. We have the 5th most expensive police chief contract in the state of New Jersey. And I have real concerns about people taking favors from the police department and then voting on matters on which the police department is applying. We had Sergeant Patton come here and say he didn't want a public safety director. I think it's a conflict of interest, and it certainly, quite frankly, gives the appearance that 3 members of this council have been bought and paid for by the police department, and I think they need to refuse.
Okay, anybody else from the public wishing to be heard? Yes.
Bless you.
Deborah Squire, 106 Hollywood. Have we established hours and what this $50,000 a year buys in this town? What is part-time? Is he here once a week? Is he here 2 hours a day? What exactly are we?
We discussed 20 to 30 hours.
20 to 30 hours a week for $50,000 a year. So what is he getting paid an hour then? Seems like a lot of hours for that position, part-time, $50,000.
30 hours.
In regards to conflicts, I mean, there seems to be a lot of stuff being said where there are actually active litigations and investigations going on. So I don't understand, how mailings go out saying certain things when there's litigations going on about the chief, how some of the Democrats here are being accused of, they shouldn't be asked to vote because they're conflicted, but yet none of this has been settled or proved yet. So I don't understand what any of this nonsense being talked about has to do with this particular ordinance. There's only one person who knows that they need to recuse themselves. And I'm not going to get into this and have a whole public display here as to who I think that is. You know who it is. And, I'm sorry if it doesn't work because the vote doesn't go the way it's supposed to go as far as some people want it to go. But, it's very clear who needs to recuse themselves.
Anybody else wishing to be heard? Yes.
David Gregorio, 165 Charlotte Place. I am confused. Can you explain to me why this ordinance is there in detail and what it means?
You want to take that one?
Which one?
It's 1803, I think you're discussing, right? Just in detail, why is it
It's
there?
establishing the salary for the public safety director position.
Why do you need an ordinance to establish a salary?
Every every salary that we pay goes into an ordinance.
I don't think that's I think what he's asking is, every year, we adopt a salary ordinance with all the set positions in the borough. This is a newly created position. So last year, when we adopted our salary ordinance for 2017, this position did not exist. Therefore, we need to introduce it and have a public hearing on a newly created position, hence...
Okay.
I don't know.
So, I understand, thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Ms. Duffy. Now I understand why it's there. Now, is 18-04?
That's later.
That's later. Okay.
Remember when I opened to the public, I said we could only speak in 1803?
Oh, yes,
That's what we're doing now.
Okay.
1803.
If this comes one number after 18...
I understand.
Procedurally, it comes well after.
Well, very good. So 1803 is basically you are looking to approve the new public safety director.
Salary.
That, William
Salary.
has recommended. And Mr. Wu, Councilman Wu, can you tell me why, in detail, you feel that this position is necessary and why everyone behind me needs to pay the extra $50,000?
Okay, it's just let me jump in for 1 second, just to correct the record. There was already a vote on the PSD. This is for the salary. Councilman Wu, you certainly can answer should you choose to do so.
We discussed this before, David, relative to policies and procedures inside of the police department, also relative to our chief is retiring in January, so I stated on the record that we're looking for somebody to help us with the succession plan for our chief.
It would seem to me that you could actually, if you know that the person is definitely has to retire, that you could be more efficient and actually advertise for the position itself and start that interview process now, rather than hiring a person and approving with our tax money. And how much was that salary? Are there any benefits or anything else that's not just included?
So
Straight 50,000.
Mr. Di Gregorio, the procedures for promotion to chief are being introduced in 1806, which...
We're not talking about...
I know, but I'm telling you...
We're talking about 18-03.
No, you were. That's why I'm telling you that 1806 deals with the subject matter that you're raising about promotion to chief.
Okay.
1803 deals with the money to pay to the public safety director, who I believe sincerely we need for a number of reasons, including the reasons stated by Councilman Wu.
Right.
Is there anything else that you would like to discuss?
Well, I think that we need a public safety director because you were unable to forge a good working relationship with the chief.
Thank you.
So basically, your lack of leadership and lack of people skills is costing all of us an extra $50,000 here. So I would say, as a taxpayer and a resident, an undesirable resident, as you have said in the past, that I have no place here, understanding here, thank you, that I would urge every council member to vote no.
Why don't you do this, when you're done, when you're done, later on, speak to Mr. Pelzer and ask him why we need a public safety director. Mr. Pelzer, and ask him why we need a public safety director. All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Why should I ask?
Okay, thank you.
Anybody?
Thank you.
I really want to know, why
No.
do you direct me to no. Please, I'm going to hold you to this,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Mayor. Why should I talk to this
Current
man?
litigation, would you please not?
Mr. Mayor, detail, you brought it
Anybody
up.
else wishing to be
I
heard?
demand
I suggest
an answer.
you don't get any
Why
answer.
should I talk to him?
You don't
Why?
get to demand.
Anybody else, please?
I get to do what I want,
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Attorney.
Thank you.
I demand, why should I talk to this gentleman? I don't even
Okay.
hardly know him.
Bring that
I don't know him.
Please sit down. Thank you.
I'll sit down when I'm ready, and
Thank
you're not
you.
going to tell me to sit down.
Okay.
Please
The
leave.
mayor just did.
Please leave.
I don't care.
Please leave.
I'm not leaving, I'm not out of order.
No, you are out of order. Lieutenant Tracy, please remove Mr. Di Gregorio. You're being disruptive.
I'm leaving on my own.
All right. All right. Until next month. Ms. Geiger?
Karen Geiger, 270 Alfred. I'm obviously against setting up a public safety director and therefore against funding the position. I think it's a waste of money. But be that as it may, my concern is for the comment that Lauren made about the use of the police patch.
No, not
I
right
know
now.
that, excuse me, Lauren brought it up and I'm responding.
No, I was talking to the mayor. I'm sorry.
The comment I have is directed to each of you on the council, referring to what Lauren said. Number one, the police patch, or a reasonable facsimile of it, appears on the internet very prominently. If you look at John Paff's post when he commented on Michael McMorrow's lawsuit against the borough,
Who's John Paff?
I knew I had something to do with this somewhere.
Who's John Paff?
John Paff is the leading advocate for transparency in government in the state.
According to who? Self-proclaimed, or are you proclaiming him that?
Excuse me,
Are you
I'm
proclaiming?
allowed to make my comment. You don't, I'm not asking for your opinion on this person. He can fend for himself if he so chooses. But basically, on his website, when he describes the McMorrow lawsuit, which he does, or rather the settlement agreement, which he does of most settlement agreements in the state because he's an advocate of open government, he prominently displays a copy of the police patch of Englewood Cliffs or reasonable facsimile.
Is he a member of our police department?
Excuse me. Well, that's all I want to alert you to.
Yeah, he's not, is he? Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay, can I have a motion to close the public portion?
So they can't use their patch outside of home. I just want to understand. Not using the logic of a vote.
Is there someone
Right.
before the public, before the council?
Okay, vote.
Can I have the floor now? I want to...
If it's a point of order, you could,
Point of
yes,
order.
you could direct that to me, and I'll recognize you, and you could say what you want.
Okay, point of order, Mayor.
Yes, Councilwoman O, what would you like to say?
Okay, so under the same ordinance that we were just talking about, I'd like to, I'm going to make a motion to table that to the next meeting, given that there are litigations that are pending. At least two of them that I could think of right now. One is the chief's prerogative writ for the public safety director, and the other one is, I believe, Melanie Simon and Joe Ferrero's lawsuit stating that Council President Carol McMillan may be, conflicted in this, and she may not have, voted on this matter. So I'm making a motion to table this to the next meeting.
I second that, that's reasonable.
Okay, let's have a vote.
That's not unusual.
Okay, that was a motion by Councilwoman O, and second by Councilperson Zaversa. Councilperson Aversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
No.
M. Park?
No.
Wu?
No.
Mayor?
No.
Point of order, Mayor.
Yes.
In my opinion, what Councilwoman O just said confirmed what I said about Melanie Simon. Mrs. O'Shea brought to my attention, she heard it, Melanie Simon running up to Councilwoman O about me. She's got an active lawsuit, and going forward, I believe Councilwoman O should be recusing
Is that true,
on everything
Councilwoman O?
having to do with me.
Is that true?
You can ask Mrs. O'Shea.
Is that true?
She heard it.
You know what? I don't remember, and you know what?
How convenient.
You know what, by the way, Mrs. Valari, with
No,
all
no,
due respect...
don't engage the
You know what?
audience. Don't engage the
Okay,
audience. It's not good.
Listen,
It's not good.
Mayor,
Don't
why
engage the audience.
why is it true that you're only getting people on this side of the room out, okay,
Mrs.
from
Valari,
this
could you-
meeting?
could you remain silent?
She
Thank you.
is making comments during the meeting, and you do not
What-
ask her to be
But you're
quiet.
changing the subject.
Okay, because...
Maria,
all-
please.
But
Ms.
you-
Valori,
You know what, during tonight's meeting, do you know how many times she interrupted,
Look,
and
I
you
think
didn't say
that,
a word
I
about
think
her?
I think the
But
issue is
anyway,
that you have a conflict
I do
with,
not
on
have
this
a
matter.
conflict, and I do not absolutely not have a conflict.
Well, the last thing this borough needs is more litigation, and I fear that you're spawning that by claiming you don't have a conflict.
Motion to table. Table.
Mayor,
Are we ready to
would you
call the
like me to
motion?
take a motion to...
We need a motion
Okay.
to,
Okay, so this is a motion for ordinance 1803. Councilperson Zaversa?
Nope.
E. Park?
No.
O.
No.
McMorro?
You voted previously, correct?
Upon advice of council, yes.
Yes.
Upon advice of council, yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Mayor?
yes.
1803 passes. Okay, 1804, an ordinance amending ordinance 1709 entitled Ordinance Fixing Salaries, Wages, Compensation for All Salary Appointed and Elected Officers with the Borough of Englewood Cliffs in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey. Need a motion to open?
So moved.
Floor is open to the public. Wishing to speak on 1804.
So on 1804, if anyone wishes to speak, please come to the microphone after I recognize you and after you raise your hand. State your name and address.
For your department,
Seeing and hearing no one for once.
So moved.
Second.
Move to close.
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
All right.
Okay,
So we have a vote?
hold on, please. I need a motion for the vote. Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
The next one is the first reading with a public hearing on April 11.
Okay.
1802, an ordinance amending the Code of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs, Chapter 2, Section 13, entitled Police Department, to update the table of organization and other sections. I need a motion.
So moved.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Council, I'm not allowed to vote on this?
This is a general legislation here.
Yes.
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
1805, with a public hearing on April 11. An ordinance amending ordinance 1709 entitled Ordinance Fixing Salaries, Wages, and Compensation for All Salary Appointed Elected Officials in the Borough of Englewood Cliffs in the County of Bergen, State of New Jersey. Motion?
So moved.
Second. This is the first reading, I'm sorry.
Yes, it's a first
First
reading.
reading.
Councilperson Zaversa?
Yes.
E. Park?
Yes.
O.
Yes.
McMorro?
Yes.
M. Park?
Yes.
Wu? What did you, is 1806? Did you want to talk about it, Emery, or?
Yeah, I will talk about it, just to make a bit of
Okay,
a record.
so you-
I like it.
Okay, so 1806, an ordinance amending the code of the Borough of Englewood Cliffs, Chapter 2-13, entitled Police Department, to establish promotional procedures for position of Chief of Police, with a public hearing on April 11.
And just mainly for the council's edification, but also for the public, we sent around a draft to you that was drafted by the labor attorney on Friday. And I had quite a bit to do for preparation, and I did not get to this ordinance till this afternoon. You did receive a copy of it. The changes are substantive changes, adding several provisions. I hope that you have, or at this point, have your questions answered on it. I believe that my additions and my clarity of trying to clarify some language here are appropriate considerations for both eligibility of chiefs of police as well as how to make the selection process. And it's fairly simple. And the changes that I made, I reviewed with Mark Rutterman as well, so that I could get this document to the council now. And you can see that the appropriate authority, in this instance, the mayor and council, is going to be part of the selection process, unless you at some point defer to the police committee of the council, who may take that up. So that, but it gives you a choice here, appropriate authority or its designee, which would be a council committee. It talks about your standard police chief requirements of how you know, the testing, the essays, the written exam, an oral interview. Those are all standard police hiring procedures. And in addition, the other requirements, as you see, are a review by the appropriate authority of a personnel file, review of the educational records, review of a criminal background check and a driver's license check, psychological testing only in the event it hasn't been performed. These are all things that are pretty standard for any hiring of a police officer, but also for a promotion of a police officer, and that is what this is meant to be limited to. So,
I just had two
yes,
things to add.
yes,
The word "and" here.
okay. Yeah, okay, that's pretty, I can add that.
And then also
There-
here.
There is a typographical error, which I will add. The mayor caught it. Section 1C, it should be "and." You see, all four of those
At
require,
the end, after the semicolon,
Right.
insert an "and," and then the same thing on number 7, 3B7.
Yes, okay. The point being, each of those eligibility requirements must be met, not one or the other, all four of them. Do we have a 9? Okay.
It should actually be after 8, 3B8. After E, the word "and" should be inserted.
So,
it's conjunctive.
So, Mayor, I have nothing further unless there are any questions from any of the council members about the revisions. You already had basically the substantive, but I do have revisions. Councilman Wu, you're a committee person for the...
My other question is the weights that are going to put on all of these criteria, so, there's a long list here, so...
Yes, my understanding, and again, I did not...
On the advice of Labor Council, he did not want to have waiting.
He did not want to have waiting, and it is not required. And so the ultimate decision-making process may consider one or the other to be more important. There may be something like, I'll just give you an example. Let's say that a particular candidate's driving history, because I put that in here, shows that there are issues that may be problematic to be a police chief. I'm putting it gently, okay?
Will each council person be weighing in on their own, in their minds?
Well,
when they see the application?
What I perceive the Labor Council set up here is that it's the appropriate authority who will be involved, or its designee, the police committee. And what I suspect is, as we get there, we will have a resolution making that decision. Who's going to do it? Appropriate authority or the police committee. Or if you all agree you're all going to do it together, then you all interview everyone together.
I would be in favor of everybody participating. Council, do you agree?
I have a question.
Well, the mayor's asking a question, though. He's indicating, go ahead.
Do you all agree that you should all be involved in the hiring process?
Yes,
Yes?
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, I just want to make sure. So you could have a committee, or you could have the entire appropriate authority. I think the entire appropriate authority should do it. There might be some vetting, but before that, we'll figure it out.
So, was this discussed with the police committee and anyone in the police department, or the chief, or a long time ago?
This was
Just to get feedback from...
This ordinance was
Can you put, can you?
No, I
It's not picking
understand,
up.
I know that. I'm saying, but did anyone speak to the police personnel about any of it? Not that we have to, I'm just asking.
You don't have to. That's what I was going to tell you. You don't have to.
Without getting into the particulars, there were references made at a meeting with representatives of the PBA.
Okay, so they had some input, I guess you said.
Well, no, they were given an idea of what was on the horizon, and this is it. We are under the very police chief's Bill of Rights that we all talk about. That also is often ignored, but several provisions there are powers given to the municipal entity. And one of them is, we get to enact ordinances that govern the police department.
I think you're missing my point. My point is not that there's nothing wrong with this that I see.
Okay.
The point is, did you at least have the courtesy to discuss it with any of the police department? That's all. I'd say you had to, I guess.
Okay.
Labor Council worked with us to formulate this. As I said, we relayed certain aspects of it, and eligibility aspects of it, which were, I would say, positively received. But that's all I can say about that meeting, because it was close to it.
Point of order? Point of order?
Yes.
I'm going to make the motion to table this, and the only reason why is, Amber, you sent me a draft at 4:20, and then you said there was some changes right now.
No, also, the draft on 420 is what you have in front of you.
Okay. That's what we have in right. You came to us and said, did you get the final?
Yeah, that was the one at 4 o'clock. And you had the earlier draft from Friday.
And there's no difference, in other words, there's no indication as to what were the changes from the draft.
Yeah, I'm
and the
sorry, it was
final.
actually before Friday. It was like a week ago.
Anyway.
No, but Aaron, didn't you Am I nuts here? Didn't you just come to me before I said?
Yeah,
you
but
just got this?
it was this afternoon that you got it. I will
Right,
tell
so-
you, I will tell you what I added. I will tell you what I added. Review of candidates' educational records. Why? Because earlier, in the original draft, it says we want a candidate with a bachelor's degree. So in the selection process, I said, we shall look at the educational records. You want to see the college degree. That's what I put in. The next thing I put in, and I discussed with Mark, was we should have a criminal background check and driver's license check. Even though, so you understand, we are making, this ordinance proposes consideration of current police officers of the department only. So one might say, well, there are police officers in our borough, why do you need a background check? Because I've had the experience of police officers coming up for promotions in another town where it turned out that there were criminal records. And so I recommended that in this promotion process for the chief, any candidate who wants to be considered must consent and do whatever is necessary to do a background check. Same thing with the driver's license. It's only due diligence to get this information for you council members. That's a change that I made. The rest of the things that you see were all in there, except I rewrote them to be more English speaking and more like an ordinance, because Mark Retterman doesn't write ordinances. I do. Okay, so now let me just make sure I didn't add anything. All these other things, the psychological test, drug testing, the personnel file, the promotional, all of those were in there last Friday.
So look, in the future, just send a red line version.
I will.
After the first draft.
I only really added like 3 things.
What we can do though right now is we could recess for 5 minutes. It's only 3 pages, 2.5 pages.
No, I just want to know what the changes are, otherwise I have to do a side-by-side comparison.
I should have done
No,
that.
just do red lines, it's fine.
All right.
Just mark your changes. Okay.
Okay.
So,
Fine.
So do you withdraw your motion?
I'll withdraw my motion.
Thank you.
Okay. I need a motion to move it.
in the motion to move adds the word "and" after 1C and the word "and" after 8E. Have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Councilperson Zaversa?
I still have one problem, I have a problem with 1C. That's always been my problem. I voted no on it before. I hate to leave it in there and still vote yes. But I understand.
You don't want a police officer to have a bachelor's degree?
I always wanted to have the option. I didn't want to have must-have. I always wanted to be...
We debated this quite a bit.
I know, I
right?
understand.
And I spoke to William a lot about it, and also to Mark Ruderman, and basically, the prevailing norm is, as he explained it to me, is to have this as a must.
Like I said, it's my issue.
It is the top position. Ed.
Yes, I know. That eliminates some people, doesn't it, I would imagine.
I don't know.
I know, I don't either. And I hate to miss out on somebody that might be qualified. I'm going to say no, I'm sorry. I agree with everything else in there, but that one thing always sticks in my craw, and I'm sorry.
Okay, so in the future, don't wait till the meeting to discuss this.
Well, like I said, Mary, we discussed that before, and you would have to change our ordinance.
No, you got this a week ago. This is the first
No,
time
I
I'm
know,
hearing
but
it.
we'd have to change the ordinance that we have now on the... Yeah, we have a thing that says if we hire a police officer, they have to have a college degree. I
Yeah,
agree with it then.
that's a new hire rate.
But it's still in there.
I understand, but your objection to one may not apply with this, correct?
So, he's a no.
Yeah,
All right.
It's okay. I understand.
E. Park?
Yes.
O?
Abstain.
McMorro?
It's general legislation, I believe you have the right to vote.
Yes.
And Park?
Yes.
Wu?
Yes.
Passes.
Passes.
Okay. Just announce this, 1801. I had it on here, but just to let everybody know.
Oh, so we're moving, okay, so 1801, which appears as the ordinance coming up next, engineering phase of the Fifth Street Extension Project, has been tabled to March 20th at 6:30 PM, public hearing.
Special meeting.
Special meeting.
Thank you.
Okay.
No, I didn't. I want you to read it.
All right, let's do committee reports. State your committee, and tell us what you did on your committee. And then also tell us what you did as a council member since last meeting. Councilman Aversa.
Seems like I responded to a ton of emails all the time.
Can you just talk into the mic?
I'm talking into the mic.
No,
You
get
want me to
closer.
hold it up and marry it? I don't want to. Lighting, we have a report about lights that are out, street lights that are out. I think Lizette has that report from the police department. Nothing on historical, and that's all I have.
Did you attend any meetings on behalf of the
No.
committee or the borough?
No. Oh, well, budget meeting. I did.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Councilwoman Park.
Yes, not much to report as far as Board of Health, except I think we're going to try to maybe do a blood drive, which would be great. Once I have more information and a date, I'll let everybody know.
That's a good idea. Let's do that. Yeah.
That's it. Transportation, so I know at the, down at the League of Municipalities last November, there were some transportation options for senior vans. So I believe the administrator was looking into some of the options, and I will report back when I have more information.
Thank you. That's important that we do that. I was speaking to representative of the seniors, citizens, and, I think it's something that we should figure out how to fix. And we'll do our best to do that. Councilwoman McMorro.
Thank you, Mayor. Most importantly, I've been, I'm the liaison to COA. I've been devoting almost all of my time to that. We had one motion on Friday, we have another one on the 29th. Because of litigation, I'm not allowed to go into any specific details, but council has been briefed in closed session. All the questions have been answered, and I'll update you again at the special meeting on the 20th.
Thank you. Councilman Park?
Yes. Planning board is guidance for the public forever, to addition on the service area. But we discussed about it, they are one of the relative affecting about our planning board member. That's good, because they are volunteer and they are working very hard. They will always protect our relative interests. So please, don't divide any political unanimity for our planning board members. They are really working very hard, and they are also dedicated their time a lot. So I'm very disappointed about this kind of attitude. And then another one is I'm not the chairman of the public safety, but I am a member. About 3 weeks ago, we sit down with the police senior management team who meet each other for our new hired public safety director. At the time, I mentioned about our Korean American first generation issue, because they have a language barrier for each party, each side, even though first generation, they are not much able to effectively communicate with the police officers. They have a relatively issue. So I asked police chief and the senior member to develop a sort of a communication program. As you know, here almost 20% Asian residents living here. Second generation or 1.5 generation, they are very effectively communicating with the police department. But for the first generation, they have some issue here. So hopefully, police chief, you have to, we have to discuss about this kind of issue to solve it. Okay. So that will be discussed about. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Public safety, during the month of February, we had 2 budget meetings for police and DPW. They were very productive. We haven't been able to finalize the budget as the finance committee. We haven't been able to get together yet. Hopefully after this meeting, we'll be able to set a firm time for us to finish up our work. On Wednesday, February 28th, we introduced the new public safety director to the entire, most of the police officers. I think there were 20 people in the room, plus our chief. I thought our new public safety director was very respectful of our chief, respectful of our mayor, and also respectful of all team members on the police force. I also want to commend the police department yesterday. There was a resident who lives in town. They got in a car accident on Summit and Palisades. Right at that intersection, their car was totaled, and the perpetrator it was a hit and run. And I understand they're pretty happy that the person who committed the act was caught. So thankful for that. I want to also just thank our DPW, led by Mark. I think the 2 snowstorms we had last Wednesday, I got a chance to ride out with Mark and look at all the streets, and they were all out there working hard. And it was really a very good job that was done. I was pleased to hear that Lindy Field, we talked about that as well with Mark, just making sure we have like a service level there for getting the paths, plowed, and it's great that one of our residents actually noticed that. We've talked about that, so we always try to clear those paths quickly. I appreciate Mark taking me around and showing me where all the sump pumps in town are. It was really fun to do that. So, Board of Ed, nothing new to report. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. For all business, there's a food drop-off box out in the lobby there. We're collecting food for the Office of Concern down in Englewood. Please try to remember to bring a can of soup, whatever, something non-perishable to the next meeting. We're going to do that at every meeting. They come the next morning, and if you want, tomorrow morning, it'll be out there as well. You could drop it off on the way to work. In terms of, anybody else have old business? For new business, I read Dr. Seuss' story up at Northcliffe School and Goddard School in the past month. That was a lot of fun. We met with the PBA in January and February. Today's meeting got adjourned by them. We're trying to meet with them every month to talk about their contract, whatever issues they want to talk about. So I'm hoping that we reschedule that for next week or the week after and get back on track there. The DPW's done a great job, guys. Thanks again. Really appreciate everything you're doing, and that's all. Okay. Anybody else have any new business? We have an item here, discussion regarding citizen complaint regarding Bayview Avenue and ECPD. That came to me. I looked at it and I relayed it to the Borough Council.
Me?
Yes.
Yes. So, I did. Okay, so there is a citizen complaint about parking on Bayview Avenue, and he raised some concerns about members of the police department. I haven't spoken to him. He spoke with the borough clerk. I will reach out to him and try to gather some information and transmit with the police department and see if the citizen, if something can be worked out to allay his concerns that he's raised.
Okay, thank you.
But I just didn't get to it today, but thank you.
It came in on Monday.
It came in on Monday, I think.
Right.
Correct.
I forget. Monday? Okay, so the next item is discussion on 2 disciplinary matters regarding Chief Michael Chaffee, who was noticed, and I'm going to turn it over to the Borough Attorney.
I just need a quick break before we start. Excuse me.
Hello?
Again, I just need to use the
Okay.
facilities.
Okay.
I'd ask each of you, I gave you a confidential memo that gives you an idea of what we're going to discuss. Please take a few minutes to read it. I will be asking along the way if you have any questions as we go through it. And also, I think I'm going to speak from down here, and I will be asking the chief and his attorney to come up to council table. Why?
The last one.
It was? Well, I have to be sure that we're giving them Okay, we're going to deal with the recusals at the appropriate time. I'd ask that Mr. Gallantucci or whichever council is handling it, and Mr. Chief Chiaffi come up to the table, and we'll take a brief break.
I'm going to
right
have
now.
a 10-minute recess.
Motion?
No, good recess. Everybody, we need Mark. Here's Mark. All right, we're out of recess.
Okay.
Anne Marie, go ahead.
I'll mark me for the record that it's 11:25 p.m. And just because I'm sitting here and the other side is over there, doesn't mean that we're adversaries. I just want to speak to you, council members, and have eye contact with you over the course of what I'm going to do in the memo that I provided to you. This is mainly a procedural process right now, and we're going to follow the process that I laid out. There are going to be times where I'm going to stop and ask if anyone has any questions or has any concerns. I've invited Chief Chiaffi up with his counsel. There are 2 counsels here. Can you please put your names on the record?
Chief Chiaffi and myself, I'm Robert Gallantucci, and my partner is Richard Potter.
And for the record...
Richard what?
Potter.
A member of the firm of Gallantucci and Tito. And of course, for the record, because this may end up being a transcript, my name is Anne Marie Rizzuto, and I am the Borough Attorney. My purpose here is to ensure that the Borough Council has a proceeding that is in accordance with what should be expected for this type of matter. First off, for notice, and second, for an opportunity to be heard to Chief Chiaffi. He's been received a rice notice, and as a result, we are doing this in public. For members of the public, and excuse my back, and at some point I'm going to go back up there, but for members of the public, again, I caution you, I do not want commentary or outbursts from anyone. This is meant to be in your decorum. You are before a mayor and council. This gentleman has rights. We do not want this to divulge into some kind of circus. So please respect the chief, me, the attorneys, and everyone else.
Counselor, can you just make clear to the audience also that it was Chief Chaffee who elected to have this publicly? The
Yes.
alternative was to do it privately.
Yes, and I will speak on that a little later too, but as maybe some of you know, the chief, as an employee of the borough, and any employee of the borough, when you are considering disciplinary matters, has the right to write notice and to choose whether to have this type of a proceeding before the public, or whether to allow the mayor and council to go into closed session. So we're here because the chief chose to have it in public. So again, I still believe, he has the right to choose.
He has not only the right to do it, but he has nothing to hide, so that's why he's in the public, so everyone can see.
Okay, very good. So now, if everyone has your memo, I have, one second, please. I am going to address recusals at a certain point in time. This first part is no discussion on the facts of the matter and no discussion on the hearings that went on. So I'm not asking for recusal now. When we get to that point, I'm going to ask for recusal. Did you want to make a comment, Rodan?
I just wanted to say to the mayor and council that,
I think, how do you want to run this?
I'd rather just sit down.
Oh, that's always that.
No problem.
That's fine.
Fine.
I prefer standing. Is that okay, ma'am?
So then why don't you, if you're going to stand, can you take the handheld microphone?
No.
Oh, okay.
And give
That's
them that
okay.
one?
I won't stand, I'll stand right
Well-
here. All right, let's try to run through what I am calling notations and cautionary guidance for the council. These are things that I am telling you as borough attorney that you should be paying attention to as we go through this matter. First off, the name of the case is discussion of two disciplinary matters, two separate charges, as to the chief of police and the Rice notice that he received, and that the chief has requested the Rice hearing in public, so that's what we're doing. First off, the hearing officer report has been distributed to council members, and some have received redacted forms. And this, in my opinion, is not an open public record at this time, and is not to be discussed in detail by any council member at this time.
And that record refers back to a hearing that
Yes.
took place when?
And I have that here.
Right.
The next point is, the hearing officer's recommendation has to do with the hearings that were held in public at the choice of Chief Chiaffi on February 21 of 2017. There are transcripts that exist. I was surprised to hear that someone has the transcripts. No, I do not believe that I determined their open public record. They may very well be, because the hearing itself was in public. So the transcript of the testimony, if someone has obtained it, and I do have a copy of it, is in fact the same thing that happened if you were to have come in here and watched the hearings on February 21st of last year. There were witnesses, exhibits, and the hearing was held. Everyone made their legal argument, and then subsequently legal briefing. Next, during the course of this presentation tonight, and as we continue to a adjourned time in the future, each of the two disciplinary charges will be discussed separately, because there are issues of recusal for only parts of matters, which we will get into shortly. But that is the purpose. The hearing officer treated each charge separately, heard the hearing separately, and wrote a decision separately on each of the matters. So that is how we are going to continue. I'm noting for the record and for your edification that along the way during the hearing, various legal issues were raised by the parties and decided by the hearing officer, and you, as a mayor and council, play no role in the legal decisions and rulings made by the hearing officer. You do not have the ability to question the legal rulings or to change the legal rulings. Next point. The hearing officer has made a report of recommendations. It's dated sometime from 11 of 2017. All of you have received it, some in redacted form. There will be no revelation in open public session at this time of what the hearing officer recommended. So I caution you, whatever he recommended, whatever was sought by both of the sides there, okay, because the borough was represented by Labor Council, we're not going to reveal that recommendation at this point. There may be a later one when you make a decision. The next point is what your true role is here. Your role is to look at the hearing officer's report, and you have three choices. You may accept the hearing officer's recommendation, you may modify the hearing officer's recommendation, or you may reject the hearing officer's recommendation. That is the end result that you will be asked to decide. That's not going to happen tonight. It's going to happen at the continued part of this hearing. but just so you understand, modify, accept, or reject. The employee, Chief Chiaffi, and his attorney will be afforded the right to make a brief statement to you or to answer any of your questions. This opportunity will be given for charge number 1, and then again for charge number 2. It is not for the chief or his counsel to make new arguments or new facts or new testimony. So again, I caution counsel, and I would interrupt if that were to happen. This is not to supplement the record that has already been made. The hearing officer made a recommendation on a record. That record is closed. We are giving him due process, right of notice, opportunity to be heard. That doesn't mean he gets to add new things or new facts. So we will be careful with that. Next point. You council members will be afforded the opportunity to ask questions of the chief or of his counsel. It is up to them whether they want to answer any of your questions or address you in any way. It's solely their choice. We give them the opportunity, they can take it or leave it. After we have this brief presentation, and I promise it's not going to be too long, okay? But we got to get through this legal stuff. After we have the factual scenarios described and the stuff that I have already described, the matter will be adjourned, and we will schedule it for deliberations in closed session as permitted under the Open Public Meetings Act. It is my opinion, in checking my law and checking my cases and consulting with other experts, municipal attorney experts in the field, that deliberations are allowed to be in closed session. The rights part of it is here in open. He has the choice. Chief Chiaffi, in my opinion, does not have the right to say, we have to deliberate in public. Your deliberations should be in closed session where you can be free to discuss among yourselves and arrive at a decision as a governing body. So, this will be, we will take the factual scenarios now. We will adjourn until April 11th, where we will have closed session. I will invite Mr. Gallantucci to respond to what I stated on this particular legal point in either now or briefly or in writing as a legal analysis before April 11th. We'll work it out with him, and we'll also see if there can be some kind of a give and take there. At some point, you will then come out of deliberations, you will be on the dais, and there will be a motion. Someone's going to have to make a motion, and then you're going to have to vote. Each matter will be handled separately by resolution. Once resolutions are adopted, Chief Chiaffi, who has the right to appeal to the Superior Court in this case, his time to make that appeal runs the day you adopt the resolution from the mayor and council. Now, some housekeeping. Previously, we listed this matter for closed session on November 9th of 2017. And I distinctly recall that there were about 25 matters on closed session that night, and I'm not quite sure why we had it listed, this one listed. We did not hold a closed session that night. We did nothing on your matter, and all of the council people are aware of that, and a citizen made an inquiry. This matter was not discussed on November 9th, even though it was on the agenda. Now, the first thing I'm going to do at the beginning of each charge is to ask for recusals. And I have discussed recusals in various ways with several members of the public. I'm ready to move on unless you council members have any questions at this point. Have I laid it out? Ed?
Thank you.
Ed? Okay, he's good. Thank you, Mayor. Anyone else? Understand what we're doing here? You good? Mr. Gallantucci, do you have any questions or comment you want to make on the points that I've discussed already?
Yeah, I'm not quite certain why we're going through all of this. I think that the purpose of my being here tonight is to address the appropriate authority of all of these folks, except for those people who be recused. And of course, there is a recusal motion before we get started. And I think, I'm sure you've reported this back to the, excuse me.
Okay.
I'm sure that you reported this back to the mayor and council, that the court was
Okay.
talking about Carol McMorro.
Yes, I'm
While
going-
there's the litigation between her and the chief, I will be hard pressed for you to find me a case similar
Okay.
as this.
Okay. You can stop right there. We're going to address recusals right now, okay? Is there a member of the council that wishes to recuse on both matters? Councilwoman McMorro, thank you very much. Please remove from the dais.
And nowhere.
Well, I am of the opinion that you can stay in this room. If you prefer not to, go there. You cannot communicate with anyone.
I'm asking you, as Borough
Okay,
Council,
where do I go? Where would you like to go?
wherever you advise me, I
Go ahead,
can
go
go.
in there. You cannot communicate by phone or any other way. Do not communicate by phone to any members here. You know that. I don't have to tell you that.
Where's my phone?
You can take it. You might want to talk to her. Okay. All right.
Just to close the door.
Howard, you don't have to give it, I trust you. So now, everyone else, you're good, you don't have conflicts on the first charge, which is improper dissemination of material. Good? Ed, speak up on the record.
I'm good. Are you asking me directly?
Yes.
I don't have
Okay,
a
I'm good. Ellen? I'm good. Gloria? Mark?
I'm okay.
And William?
Good.
Mayor, conflict? Conflict in this matter?
No.
No, okay. I'm going to eliminate my comment because you and I have already discussed that I'm going to accommodate any legal stuff you want to give me on closed session deliberations, okay? So I'm taking that out. Did that, okay. Members of the council, I am not going to give you a long summary of the facts. I am sure you have all done your due diligence and read the opinion of the officer. So for purposes of making a record, the hearing was held on February... Yes.
I understand that that has been redacted by somebody.
I redacted part of the opinion because there is an issue of recusal for other members on the second charge.
Well, you know, frankly, it should be provided to me.
Okay.
So that I can make my objections
Okay.
wherever I need to.
So here's my opinion on your request. It's a good one, but I believe as borough attorney, I'm the one that has to counsel them on whether or not they have conflict of interest, and you can raise or make any record you like when we get to charge number 2. Charge number 1, all members have been provided with the results, with the report at the charge number 1.
May I see a copy of that?
Well, okay, I don't have the redacted in front of me, but I will tell you exactly what was redacted. The hearing officer's report is dated February 20, I'm sorry. No, I have to make a record. No, I have to make a record. I'm sorry, I have to make a record.
Did any of you print the redacted one?
The hearing officer's opinion is dated November 6,
So why don't you give it to Mr. Brown?
2017. It consists of 31 pages. Redaction of charge number 2 was, and I can provide it to you later.
Do you have a redacted one?
I have the one that she said.
Oh.
I'm sorry. You know what? Let's just put the provide it to you.
I will. I have it. I will provide it.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. Now, the improper dissemination of materials is a charge that was issued by the mayor, acting as the appropriate authority, as was opined by the borough attorney at that point, and was then the subject of a subsequent legal decision by the hearing officer, because it was raised by Chief Chiappa's attorneys during the hearing. The charges were found to have been appropriately signed by the mayor. The first charge was improper dissemination of material. It had to do with a certain letter written on hold on a second. Police department, written by officers of the PBA. And it was requested by the chief, and it was written by, yes, two representatives, they're called, of the PBA. And the topics were a few different topics, including the Junior Police Academy. The charge of improper dissemination, which was with respect to the chief at the time before the hearing, allegedly taking that memo, which I believe was an inter-office memo, I will check the exhibits, and disseminating it outside of the police department in violation of various rules and regulations, all of which you see in the opinion of the hearing officer. That is the factual basis of the charges. Several people testified, including Lieutenant Tracy and the chief. At least, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 exhibits were marked and considered by the hearing officer not only during the course of the hearing, but in rendering his decision. So that hearing had 2 officers sworn under oath to give testimony. There was a decision and a recommendation by the hearing officer, which I am not going to discuss. That is my factual summary that I'm willing to give to you at this point. It's limited. So, here we are asking if you have any questions of me, or of the chief, or Mr. Gallantucci. Anyone?
Chief, how long have you been a police officer in Englewood Cliffs?
Susan.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I have to swear to you. Which one do I have? I'm sorry. Will you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth?
Bible?
I don't, but we're gonna, we're...
We'll get it. We'll get it. Where is it?
Sorry.
Give it to you.
I do to everyone.
I can ask the question and Mr. Gallantucci, you could just
Yeah,
speed up
you
the
know,
process.
it would be easier, I think it's 40 years, but it's in the,
It's in the hearing
it's in the hearing officer's report.
41 years?
41 years.
Okay.
And thank you, that.
Okay. Apologize, but we'll put him under oath if he's going to answer anything. All right, anyone else? Thank you, Lizette. We passed over the chief. But just leave that there on that table in case we need it.
I have a question for you,
Yes.
Attorney.
Yes.
So you had mentioned that this was on the agenda back in November 2017.
November 9th.
November 9th, 2017, on the agenda for a closed session discussion.
Right.
But you mentioned tonight that it was never discussed.
Correct.
So, I mean, we're already in March. So what happened between November and March? Why is this coming up now?
Well,
not in December, not in January, not in February, why now?
I agree, and that's probably a housekeeping question that has nothing to do with what we're doing with the chief. Excuse me. So what happened was various litigations, various items on your agenda, your reorg meeting. Generally, you don't do anything of significance. You try not to do anything of significance at the end of a calendar year. That's a standard municipal practice. We could have done it sooner. We brought it to you as soon as we could on this agenda. If there's an objection about delay, I'm sure that Mr. Gallantucci will raise it with the Superior Court when he goes on appeal. But I mean,
I'm hoping that won't happen.
okay.
Go ahead.
Well, if you have to go on appeal. So, I don't particularly remember why. I do remember that it was definitely premature to put it on the agenda for November, because you will recall, we had a spate of serious bunch of litigation filed right before the election, and at that meeting, we had a zillion appointments being made for lawyers for multiple litigations, and we also had a very long closed session. So I'm not even certain whether we just pulled the matter or we just forgot about it. We
Sounds
didn't
like
do it.
somebody dropped the ball.
No, I mean,
It
look,
was not a rice notice was never.
and then
served.
rice notice was done, which sort of leads me to think
No,
that.
rice notice wasn't served.
Right, which sort of leads me to believe that at the last moment, I said, you know, we had only gotten the report like a day or two before this, right? It's dated November 6th. We get it, we put it on November 7th. I think it was a mistake to put it on. I would have said rice notice. So I'm not even sure how it came to be. But that's the way it went. And it's 3 months, it's less than 3 months that we're here today. So I think that we're trying to act in good faith in all respects. Do you have any other questions so far, Councilwoman? Okay. Anyone else have any questions? All right. And I told you, council members, you can ask questions of Chief Chiappi or his attorney. Is there anything further, or we'll just close down that part? Okay. Do you want to have, this is your opportunity now to speak. Mr. Gallantucci, I asked, you're not going to have your, if you're going to have your client speak, then I have to put him under oath. If not, it's no problem. And you are objecting, for the record, you are objecting to the intent of the council, on my advice, to deliberate in closed session in the future. You and I will talk about it.
I frankly don't understand why they can't deliberate tonight after they've heard our short ordinance.
Okay, and I'll tell you why.
Good.
We had a disagreement of legal opinion as to whether or not we could do the deliberations on the same night as the rice notice and properly keep your client out at that point. So what I decided and determined was, because he asked for an open public hearing, I had not informed you that it was our intent to do deliberations in private under the Open Public Meetings Act.
As far as I'm concerned, we can go do that after we're done here.
Okay, so we're set to not do it tonight. We're going to do it on April 11th. You don't necessarily have to come. There is not going to be another rice notice, and it will be decided in closed session. I mean, deliberated in closed session, decided on the record, and I'll note for the record that it's now 11:50, so we're not going to undertake deliberations at this time. Do you have anything you would like to say strictly on the improper dissemination of materials?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Start out with your hearing officer was a former partner of the prosecutor that presented the case. That was raised, that issue was raised during the course of the hearing. It's my understanding that there was more of a social relationship because either the prosecutor introduced the hearing officer to his wife, but there was something going on there that was raised during the course of the hearing. That's number one. Number two, 40A:14-118 provides that a municipality, it gives to the mayor and council the right to make an appointment of an appropriate authority. An appropriate authority is a defined term. Not anyone can be an appropriate authority. In Englewood Cliffs, what we have is a borough ordinance that says an appropriate authority is the mayor and council as a whole. So it's not just one person or two or three or an executive or anything else. That's number one. So this should never have been instituted by the hearing officer who is referenced, who had the relationship with the prosecutor. In Englewood Cliffs, that ordinance says that the whole council, mayor and council, shall act as the appropriate authority. In this particular case, the complaint was signed by the mayor. The mayor only. Now, first of all, if that excludes him, he's disqualified. There's no way in our rule of law that somebody can charge a person and then act as their judge. That's somewhere else. That's cross your chain to somewhere else. So that's number one.
Go ahead. I'm just getting a pen.
That's number one. The mayor didn't have the right to sign it, and even if he did sign it, he should not act. In this case,
this is a legal decision. It's okay. I'm not going to sorry. I apologize.
You should not act in this case as a judge. I would encourage you to read all of the testimony. There is a transcript. And the municipality has a copy of the transcript. That's available for you to read. That's available to see what the witnesses said, so that you can make a determination as to what happened during the course of that hearing. After you have that, you're going to receive documents. Get all of the documents that have been submitted. Don't let anybody cut you short and redact. There's not going to be a redaction, because that redaction is going to go to court. We're not going to have any of that. It's an open hearing, and we want an open hearing because we don't want anyone to fool around. This is much too serious. This is 41 years as a police officer, serious, and that's how it has to be handled. So that's what I have to say about the general case. The Junior Police Academy case, everything addressed in that subject letter. The letter is about something that occurred at a meeting on April 13, 2016. That particular case, it was gone since 2016. In a newspaper reported about it in June of 2016.
Excuse me.
And the news...
Excuse me, are you supplementing the record now?
No, I'm not.
Sounds
Read
like
the
it.
transcript.
Okay.
No, he's just character.
No.
No, it's not funny, guys, and if you want to laugh, you have to leave, because this is a serious matter, okay? It affects all of you.
And I
all right?
appreciate that.
And what I want is to understand that he is supplementing it,
Okay.
all right?
Well,
He
let's
is
supplement the record.
You are.
A newspaper...
Did you introduce, and was a newspaper article accepted by the hearing officer?
Yes.
Where is it listed on the exhibit list?
Well, you're going to have to go to my summation for that.
Okay, it's not an exhibit, do not discuss
I'm not
it.
sure if he has it. Pardon me?
This is not to discuss newspaper articles, sir.
No.
No, the
No, that's
rules
not
of
what I
this
said.
hearing.
That is not what I said.
Okay.
I said a newspaper article appeared that went into evidence on June 26th.
Okay, I'm sorry, there is no June 26th newspaper article in
I'm
evidence
sorry,
here.
June 27th.
Where do you
Not
say
the
that?
article, the testimony was introduced. Testimony was
Okay.
introduced.
Sir.
Yes.
The rules of this hearing today are not to add new things.
That's not new.
Okay, you are talking about a newspaper article that does not appear to be an exhibit. So talk about something that was already in the hearing. You can't expand beyond the hearing.
Not only did it appear in this newspaper article, but there was an Oprah request that was satisfied. And that Oprah request also came out before the chief got anywhere involved with that letter. Now, that letter was a letter that he received a phone call from a former mayor who was very interested in the Junior Police Academy. Because of that position with the Junior Police Academy, the mayor contacted him and gave him a copy of the letter. So what happened in this case is the former mayor read the letter, that was it.
Okay, Mr. Gallantucci, you're just repeating what is already in the record before the hearing officer.
Well, you said that's what I'm supposed to do, talk about what was
No,
before the hearing officer.
I respect what you're trying to do, but this has already been litigated. We are here to make a decision on the record below, and you want to supplement the record below. This is not an opportunity for a full closing argument or rehashing what you already said that has already been decided by the hearing officer in his recommendation. I think that you're going too far afield, and you want to repeat
I'm
what you...
talking about the issue in the case. The hearing
Yes.
lasted much longer than an hour.
I understand.
And I'm saying that what happened was there was a
Okay.
newspaper article that came out.
Okay.
That's
The
number one.
trans-
Number two, there was an Oprah that came out. Number three, there was a letter that was presented to the former mayor about what had happened in this case.
Yes.
That's what happened.
Okay, thank you very much. That is a repeat of what is already in the record and in the hearing officer's decision. And the council will be given the transcripts should the council determine that they want them, and you can read the evidence therein.
Now, in that particular matter, and I'm getting ready to close it out, that's pretty much about it.
Okay.
But in that particular case, the hearing officer wasn't so convinced. He said that it was going to be a recommendation of no imposition except for telling the chief that he shouldn't do that. That's
Okay.
what the penalty was.
I understand,
That's not
and
accurate
that
either.
isn't what the recommendation is.
That's
and
not
we-
accurate.
What's that?
Hold on. And we are not going to discuss...
Are these people going to...
Listen, you gotta stop waving that finger around, because the last time you were in here, it was a problem.
Are these people going to do that? Are they going to interrupt?
Do what?
Interrupt.
Okay.
He needs to-
Mayor, let me just guide...
He's not being accurate. He's
Okay.
trying to influence the governing body, the
Okay.
appropriate authority.
I am.
Okay.
I am, because if they read
All right.
everything...
But wrongfully,
they will know.
wrongfully,
Mr.
wrongfully, wrongfully.
Wrongfully?
Okay.
You go like this. You
Mr.
do that with your
Gallantucci, please, and Mayor, I'm going to go back.
We have a history, if you can't tell.
Okay.
The last time he was here, swinging at me.
Okay.
What?
Mr. Gallantucci,
That for the record, I presume.
That was 2016. You
Yes.
stood right here, and you were
I
swinging.
swung at you?
You were swinging that finger.
I swung at you?
Yeah, this is about you
Okay.
also, sir.
all right, you too. All right.
I
Okay.
swung at you.
Okay. Mr. Gallantucci.
That's a serious
That's enough.
accusation.
Let's go
It's film.
forward.
There is film.
I just want to address some of the commentary made. Are you done, sir?
I am.
Okay. First off, Mayor and Council, as I previously had counseled you, the first part of Mr. Gallantucci's response with respect to an alleged conflict of the hearing officer and with respect to the signing of the charges by the appropriate authority. Those are legal issues. They were raised by the parties, briefed by the parties, and decided by the hearing officer. You have no authority to change the hearing officer's decision on that. As a matter of fact, I have been told, and I read through these things several weeks ago, but that the possibility of a conflict was this. The hearing officer, 30 years ago, used to work with the labor attorney in office for a certain period of time. Mr. Gallantucci waived that conflict during the hearings on these cases. So whether or not that is reserved for a Superior Court appeal, if one is done, is an issue. They can raise that in a Superior Court appeal. They cannot raise it here because you have no authority to change the hearing officer's legal rulings,
So why is he raising it now?
because he desires to.
Wrongfully.
Mayor, what I'm telling you is I'm counseling the
Okay.
mayor and council. He can raise it, he may or may not be appropriately characterizing it. You cannot change the decisions made by the hearing officer, who found that there was a waiver of the conflict of interest, and who found that under both the state statute and the borough code, the mayor had the right to sign the charges. In 440A 14-118, which is commonly called the Chief's Bill of Rights, there are whole sections in there about your rights. And one of those sections details the executive authority over the discipline of police officers, over the I think it says examination of the performance of officers. There is a legitimate legal basis for the mayor having signed the charges, and the hearing officer made that ruling. That is the end of that issue, so let's not waste our time.
If I could just refer you to page 31, you asked me for a reference as to the newspaper.
Okay, very good. We thank you for putting that up. I didn't itemize every transcript matter, okay? Mayor and council, I believe we are done. Is there anything further
On this particular one?
on this particular one?
And I would just add that I did not attend any of that hearing.
That's correct. I know that. And did any
For the record.
council member attend any of the hearings? I don't think so. Okay. So, we should adjourn on this particular matter. I am directing or requesting that the record reflect that we will deliberate on this unless that decision is changed by me from some legal citation that I received from council. We will carry this matter until closed session on April 11th.
You're going to table it, table the motion.
Table the hearing.
The hearing.
I just wanted to make the record clear that we're not closing it. We are keeping it open for deliberation at the next available closed session, April 11th, okay?
Mr. Gio, that doesn't foreclose me from the second.
No, no, we're doing the second matter separately. Hold on. Did we on the record have, notate, I will notate, Councilwoman McMorro is recused on charge number 2 as well. All right, and she remains out of the room. Okay, now we come to charge number 2, and again, my cheat sheet. This matter is about a failure to investigate with respect to a citizen complaint. Now, we received a request for recusal as to Councilman Aversa and Councilwoman Ellen Park. No, I'm just seeing, his sign says DMD Councilman there. So, okay. Anyway, I'm sorry, I got diverted for a minute there. It says DMD Councilman on his foot. Okay. We received a request from a citizen for recusal of Ellen and Ed, and Ellen asked me for a written opinion on what my analysis was, and I did provide that. There was some back and forth out of respect for Ellen and Ed, and generally, I don't talk about conflicts of interest in public. And Ed, you called me, Ellen, I asked you to call me, you didn't call me, but, I think we said enough in writing, frankly. I'm not asking for your opinion or input on this. My decision was that there is a conflict of interest for you, Ellen, and I respectfully ask, will you be recusing?
I will not be recusing.
Okay. So you are going to disregard my advice?
Correct.
And you are going to participate in vote?
Correct.
Do you understand that you risk personal consequences as to yourself? Yes.
If you say so, Anne Marie.
Well, I'm just telling you, you're doing something against my...
I sought counsel.
I
There's no
understand.
conflicts, and I don't want to go into details about your
Not
legal
required.
opinion.
It's not
But
required.
there's nothing in there that cites otherwise, and so there's no conflict.
Okay. I disagree, and I strongly believe that you are making an incorrect decision, and you are putting the borough at risk, and this matter at risk by participating. And you know the details. The request, the citizen, is the involved victim or witness as to charge number 2 for Chief Chiaki. This is a direct issue she raised, direct things that have occurred. I'm not going to say anything further at this point, okay? Councilman Aversa.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilman Aversa, will you be taking my advice and recusing?
Well, your advice is a little conflicting to me. So after my conversation with you,
Yes.
I think I'm not conflicted. So I
Okay.
don't believe I am. So I'm okay.
Okay, so let me ask you, do you understand everything that I said? And
Yes.
you understand, of course you do, I know you did, because we talked about it.
That's right.
You understand that my opinion with respect to you was that there was an appearance of impropriety, which has the same effect as an actual conflict of interest. It's sort of less than a full conflict.
I understand.
I'm just making a record.
Yeah, because you didn't make it clear enough to me, as a layperson, to see really any conflict. Why? Because this is not a matter about the person you spoke about. This is, to me, and this is the way you explained it to me.
Yeah.
This is a matter about the chief, and a reprimand about the chief. I have no conflict with this.
Okay.
I have no
Well,
conflict whatsoever.
I
What you
understand.
might say about the patch and the police. There's no conflict.
Okay.
So that's who the issue is about.
Okay, that's your perception, and of course, though, what you do have to consider, and what you will be considering as we go forward, is, in fact, the testimony of the citizen that made the complaint about conflict of interest. She is the citizen who testified before the hearing officer, and she is the witness testimony that the hearing officer had, along with the others at that hearing, that he relied upon in making the decision. So the fact is, you can't ignore that you're only dealing with the chief, when in fact your basis for modifying, accepting, or rejecting the hearing officer's decision has to take into consideration the complainant in that matter. So, that being said, I understand what the two of you are doing. Again, for your purposes...
I can't speak for...
No. You didn't change your mind, right?
I can make my own decision.
Okay. And you didn't change your mind, right?
No.
Okay.
Will you provide the letter and your, whatever the legal opinion was?
No, I will not.
That's privileged.
It's absolutely privileged and confidential.
It's pretty basic.
And you know what? If it comes to a legal argument, or there's another lawsuit, some attorney will be appointed, and whether or not that memo gets released will be subject to an input camera or review. Oh, no, but they have it. They have it. No one else, Councilman Aversa and Councilwoman Park have it.
How about the mayor?
No, absolutely not. He was not consulted in any way with respect to that. I did a strict fact review of the facts that are in paperwork in the file and on the record of other council meetings. And there is a transcript. These are reliable sources. You can read, you can go through the meeting.
Are you still talking about?
I'm talking about the conflict.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
I've already
So,
said what...
it's over and done. It's over and done. They decided they're going to disregard. I am going to speak briefly about the facts, and then we're going to go through what we did previously before. This charge is a charge of a failure to investigate a complaint made by a citizen, Lauren Eastwood, with respect to an action which occurred during a council meeting. The complaint had to do with intimidation and or sort of physical invading of space by former Mayor Parisi to Lauren Eastwood in an open public meeting. At that time, Lauren Eastwood went to the police department and made a complaint. The complaint was initially investigated by the police department, in a very cursory way. And then nothing was communicated to Lauren Eastwood. Lauren Eastwood wrote another letter making an inquiry. She wrote another letter making an inquiry, and I think she made a fourth letter making an inquiry. One came to the Borough Council and to a couple of other people. In any event, the charge was that the manner which the chief did not supervise his officers as to the investigation that should have ensued when in fact a citizen makes a complaint over the counter. He wasn't charged with, you didn't find charges should be sustained or not. It was a failure to investigate, and that was what was presented in the charge. That was what was looked at by the BCPO. That was what was looked at with the mayor and what the mayor signed, and that was what was heard by the hearing officer in this case. The witnesses were, during the hearing on February 21, the witnesses were Lauren Eastwood, Chief Michael Chiappi, and retired Captain Daniel Morrison. There were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There were 10 marked exhibits in that matter. And let me see, so that I can actually be accurate. First was the initial statement by Ms. Eastwood, and then there were 3 follow-up letters, and the hearing officer had the 2-page investigative report. there was a transcript of a video, there was a video of the council meeting where the alleged action happened, and a supplemental report of Lieutenant Morrissey. And then, of course, the witnesses testified, the hearing officer made a decision, and you know what the result of that decision was. Not a decision, a recommendation, he made a recommendation. So that is what is before you, and you will receive the transcript before the next meeting so that you can properly deliberate based upon the actual witness testimony. That being said, along the lines, Mr. Gallantucci, please do not supplement the record. Please keep your comments to argument rather than legal issues that may have been raised and decided by the hearing officer, because it just takes up more time tonight. Thank you,
What
sir.
occurred was in May of 2013, there was a hearing of the mayor and council. A complaint was made by Ms. Eastwood, and Ms. Eastwood, at the end of the meeting, went out to the police station, and she wanted to sign a statement. She didn't want to sign a complaint, she wanted to sign a statement. She was called in, she wrote out her statement, she was interviewed. The next day, the lieutenant interviewed her. The lieutenant took a look at what happened with respect to the video. They got the video so they could make sure what happened. Because the video sometimes will tell when people are exaggerating. So that's what they did in this case, and they looked at it. They then gave it to the chief. The chief read the report of the lieutenant, he read the statement of Lauren, and he read I guess it was the supplemental report. Because what happened was that she was asked if she wanted to sign a complaint. She said no. That was the end of it. Her complaint was that there were 25, 30 people in the courtroom. You didn't interview all those people. So what? She didn't even want to sign a complaint. You would send the police officers out to do 25 and 30 interviews where there's not even a complaint. It makes no sense. She waited until the new mayor and council came on board and then signed a complaint about a failure to respond. During that period of time, there were 4 letters. She sent a letter to the chief. I think she sent a second letter to the chief. She sent a letter to the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office. She sent one to the Attorney General's office. She sent one to the mayor and council. Nobody responded to her. But this man, this hearing officer who has this relationship with the prosecutor, indicated that he made a finding for 2 days.
That was waived, right?
One of which was going to be...
Yes, that was waived.
That was waived.
Mr.
But he keeps
Gallantucci,
raising
please
it.
don't repeat the arguments of what was already done, and please don't raise the legal issues that were decided by...
What legal issues? What legal issues I'm talking about?
You
What
just
legal
said
issues?
something about the conflict of interest. You waived that at the hearing below.
No, I waived at the hearing below so that there's no misunderstanding. At the beginning,
What's a waiver, Amber?
the
A waiver's a waiver.
prosecutor came to me and said that there was a relationship between the two of them.
And you accepted that.
I talked to the chief and I accepted it.
Right.
As that
And you
hearing went...
proceeded to...
Excuse me.
Go ahead.
As that hearing went on, is when they revealed not only this relationship in business, but also that they had a social relationship where one introduced the other to his wife.
And when did that occur? How many times? Once?
You know, I thought you read the reports.
I did.
Take a look, it's in there.
Okay, but he made a ruling on it, right? No. You waived it?
No, he didn't. He made a ruling on the original recusal, not on the second one.
Bob, with all due respect,
Yes.
this body can't change the legal rulings. Let's move on to that point.
They can do whatever they want with this.
No, they cannot change the legal rulings.
You can't box these people in.
I did the research. They can't change the legal rulings.
Once the hearing officer saw what happened in this case, he said, well, I'm going to make it 2 days, but I'll suspend 1 day and I'll have to serve 1 day.
Okay,
That was his ruling.
So that's what you say occurred during the hearing?
That's correct.
Okay, but we do have a decision that varies from that, correct? Okay.
From what?
So
From what? From what?
we agreed that we weren't going to discuss what the particular discipline is, So with all due respect, are you finished?
Let me tell you something. I never agreed that I wasn't going to talk about.
Yeah, that's okay. I'm comfortable with my,
But you also can't change it. I mean, he's trying to change it, and I understand you're trying to change what actually happened in that hearing, in the report. I mean, again, facts are better than dreams, right? So we have facts that we're working with.
I thought you were having a dream with someone back there before.
okay, so I'm comfortable with the limitations and restrictions that I stated and the parameters of what my client, the borough
That's fine.
Englewood Cliffs.
Okay.
It can be debated, or you can take us before later.
I've said what I need to say.
Now,
We're not allowed to change whatever.
You're not
else is
allowed
going
to
on. I thought
change-
You said we could do nothing, modify it, or...
no, hold on.
Don't confuse me.
I'm not confusing you. I talk very plain, I think, and I try to.
But I
okay?
heard now 2 or
Here,
3 times
no,
we
no.
can't change anything. and that's
You
what we said.
cannot change legal decisions and rulings made by the hearing officer.
I understand.
You will decide with respect to his recommendation as to discipline, whether you want to accept it, reject it, or modify it. The end result, not how they got there.
This is 41 years of time, and we're talking about a slap on the wrist, a reprimand. This is that's what this is all about?
I understand.
Can I make a motion to dismiss all this?
No.
It's costing us money to do this.
We're doing good. We're doing good so
Listen,
far.
Ed, I understand that you owe your council seat to these people, but really, you have a conflict.
That's your opinion.
You know what? That's not.
Ed,
You know what, it's the truth.
time out, please.
You don't know the first thing.
You haven't known the truth for years, I can tell.
God.
Look at you.
Hold on, Mayor, please. We want a clear record for transfer purposes.
Please. Please.
Councilman Aversa, we must deliberate. Should you choose to make a motion after the deliberation, or should there be a motion by anyone?
We're not done yet? There's more?
We're going to deliberate at another time.
All right,
You don't listen to me.
so is he done?
I am done, and he is done.
All right, and we,
Oh, sorry.
But I happen to be done too, but if you want to make a motion for dismissal, there's nothing to stop.
Not here.
Or anywhere.
No, not now.
Are
They
you-
have to deliberate. You can't do
well,
that.
first of all,
Wait a minute.
looks like he shouldn't be speaking to your clients. These are your clients. He has a client, okay? Let's be clear about this.
All right, let's be clear. Hold on a second. Let's be clear. This is akin to a hearing before an administrative body where witnesses are sworn and testimony is taken. That happened already. Mr. Gallantucci is addressing questions raised by you council members.
So-
I've given him the right to do that.
So
I
because
said-
he doesn't swear in a Bible, he gets to change all
No,
the
no, no.
facts?
He is an officer of the court. Mr. Gallantucci is an officer of the court.
Right, but he's changing things that don't...
I understand. No,
Talking
no,
about lawyers and how
Mayor.
lawyers are supposed to
no.
act.
Mayor,
You know that.
I hear what you're saying,
You know all
and you
of that.
may think, excuse me, you may think that I'm on the side of him, or him, or him. And I'm not against him, and I'm not for him. My purpose here is to give the TTIP notice and an opportunity to be heard in a due process manner. His lawyer is entitled to put forth what
That's fine.
what he's had
But he's
so
not
far.
entitled to change things.
No, but that will come in deliberations. If you have a point you want to raise about anything he said, or anything I said, and again, I just tried to characterize the facts as briefly, I am not going to be presenting that you should do this, or you should do that in closed session. It is not my role. My role is to guide you. It is not my role to make a recommendation of what you are going to do. We're going to discuss it in closed session.
All right, let's do
In
that.
appropriate deliberation.
Are you finished?
I'm done.
And is he done?
Wait, no, question from the, question.
I guess whenever you have a copy of the transcript, correct?
Yes,
Can I get a copy, please?
yes.
Okay.
You most certainly can. Even though I disagree with your decision not to refuse, I am going to give that to you.
Can I ask a question about that? will they have enough time? In other words, I hear that sometimes they get paperwork too late.
No, that's the truth.
No, actually, what you didn't hear correctly is they get it, they just don't read it.
Thank you very much.
I will inform you, I'm not going to be copying you on my correspondence to my client, but I will inform you of what is sent to them and when.
That's perfect.
I believe in cooperation.
That's fine.
This, just so you know, this is, the purpose of this is for you guys to be in a
Right.
position.
And again,
to
I
make
did not
decisions.
attend that second hearing either.
No, correct. You're good? Okay, sir. Mayor, I'm done with this part.
Let's adjourn.
We will adjourn.
But we need to get Carol in here to adjourn.
Sir? Thank you. Thank you. Okay?
We need to get Carol.
Yeah, I think she might be leaving. Carol, we need to get the
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
All right, just so move ahead.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Oh, yeah. Wait, she had a question, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie.
Yes.
All right.
You had a question on the agenda that you got reopened?
All right, can I have a motion to reopen?
Hold on. Excuse me. Go ahead.
No, you gotta reopen.
Reopen.
Carol moves, Mark second. All in favor? Aye.
I just want to ask a question for the record. I stayed in that room alone. No one, did anybody else have a conflict?
No one else refused, and the record was made.
Okay, my question to you as the borough attorney, excuse me, but the meeting's still going.
Folks, can you just hold on a second? We're finishing up one issue here.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is important, guys. I think you should be paying attention, especially the ones that didn't appear.
Yes.
The individuals that did not recuse.
Yes.
As the borough attorney, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When individuals, did you give a recommendation?
I made a recommendation that they should both recuse, one on the basis of conflict of interest, and one on the basis of appearance of it. This was said
We
in
all
public record.
received a letter from who the resident was. My question is, if the borough attorney gives a recommendation to a council person that they should recuse, and they do not follow the advice of the borough attorney, and then litigation happens because they did not follow the advice of the borough attorney, if the borough gets sued, what happens to the insurance? My understanding is that the insurance company can not cover that council persons if they get sued.
Okay, well, that is
how it was explained to me in 2012.
Okay, I don't know what that is, but a challenge to a person's vote is not a matter that is normally covered by insurance. They don't give us lawyers from the JIC for all the PWs that we have. We all have had to hire lawyers for everything. So that's not accurate. What I have advised is that there could be personal consequences.
There won't be indemnity.
And
There's no indemnity.
It could result in lack of indemnity or coverage under our borough.
I just want to be clear. That's all.
Under our borough code. I did not opine on that.
I would like you to let us know if we are then not indemnified. I was told in 2012.
That's a waste of money.
No. Time out. I'm not working in a vacuum. If and when a challenge comes, I will opine if necessary. I'm not doing that in a vacuum.
No, I understand that. I think it's important for council people to know if they cause...
I did...
Okay.
Listen, they made their decision. I
made a record.
All right, can I have a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
The doctor.